It looks like there's a bunch of other people arming Ukraine now.
With boots on the ground and planes in the air. The UK is prepared to back this with boots on the ground and planes in the air. Together with others, Europe must do the heavy lifting. But to support peace in our continent and to succeed, this effort must have strong US backing.
Man, that escalated quickly. It sure did. It's escalating very quickly. Things are going fast.
We had a very good and frank discussion. We've discussed everything that is around peace through strength. And of course, security guarantees are of utmost importance for Ukraine, but we need comprehensive security guarantees. This includes that we have to put Ukraine in a position of strength, that it has the means to fortify and protect itself from the economic survival to the military resilience. It's basically turning Ukraine into a steel porcupine that is indigestible for potential invaders. Therefore the focus is not only on the military supply, but also, for example, securing the energy system and making sure that over time this is a strong and resilient country. The second element I brought to the table is that we urgently have to rearm Europe. And for that I will present a comprehensive plan how to rearm Europe on the 6th of March when we have our European Council to the leaders.
At what level of spending should individual countries make to defence?
One thing is very sure, we have to have a surge in defence. We really have to step up massive the defense expenditure.
I don't speak British, so I don't really know what he said, but I think he's asking something about spending money.
And for that, we need a clear, big plan from the European Union for the member states and, of course, for common European domains. Like, for example, advanced air shields. We need a common European approach, but also the member states need more fiscal space to do a surge in defence.
Have you won the argument with European colleagues about stepping up to the plate in terms of money?
We all have understood that after a long time of underinvestment, it is now of utmost importance to step up the defense investment for a prolonged period of time.
So this was
for
today.
The security of the European Union, and we need in the geostrategic environment in which we live to prepare for the worst. And therefore, stepping up the defenses.
What message would you like to take to America? What message would you like to give to America after today's meeting?
We are ready, together with you, to defend democracy, to defend the principle that there is a rule of law, that you cannot invade your neighbor and bully your neighbor, or you cannot change borders with force. And it's in our common interest to prevent future wars, that we make very clear that these rules count, and that democracy, that together the democracies are standing up for that. The possibility is, of course, that we have the wider Europe approach. So today we had the Norwegians, the Turks. Of course, we were hosted here by the UK.
Who elected her? I don't know.
Canada was also there. So the wider concept of Europe stepping up.
No one?
And what does that mean in terms of numbers of soldiers on the ground? How many European soldiers on the ground?
United States.
Dozen.
We stand up for the common
Couple dozen.
interest. Thank you.
Yep, couple dozen. EU Parliament. Okay, I get it. Yep, there you go. And wow. And the EU delegations. It's so hypocritical. They're talking about defending democracy when they're banning political parties on the right side. Yeah, I'll be honest. Like, anybody trying to make an advocacy for democracy when at the same time they're censoring speech, I'm just not really getting that. I'm not really hearing it. Nope. It's delusional. Yeah, they're banning people for speech, put people in jail for speech. Yep.
good and frank discussion.
Bigger things to fry here. That's fine. I mean, like, I've been on the favor of that before, but like, I'm still not gonna go and listen to fucking somebody talk about democracy. You want to use an argument against me, and you got to tell me that I have to agree with your bad argument just because it's for the greater good. Fuck that. No, I'm not gonna go and say the sky is green or purple because there's some greater good. Fuck that. No. This is a longer one.
We will keep the military aid flowing and keep increasing the economic pressure on Russia to strengthen Ukraine now. Second, we agreed that any lasting peace must ensure Ukraine's sovereignty and security, and Ukraine must be at the table. Third, in the event of a peace deal, we will keep boosting Ukraine's own defensive capabilities to deter any future invasion.
Nope.
Fourth, we will go further to develop a coalition of the willing to defend a deal in Ukraine and to guarantee the peace. Not every nation will feel able to contribute, but that can't mean that we sit back. Instead, those willing will intensify planning now with real urgency. The UK is prepared to back this, with boots on the ground and planes in the air,
This is what we saw
together with others. Europe must do the heavy lifting.
So people are talking about World War III now.
But to support peace in our continent and to succeed, this effort must have strong US backing. We're working with the US on this point after my meeting with President Trump last week. And let me be clear, we agree with the President on the urgent need for a durable peace. Now, we need to deliver together. Finally, we agreed that leaders will meet again very soon to keep the pace behind these actions and to keep working towards this shared plan. We are at a crossroads in history today. This is not a moment for more talk. It's time to act, time to step up and lead, and to unite around a new plan for a just and enduring peace.
Well,
thank you.
We'll see what happens, right? France is discussing about sharing nuclear capabilities with UK to remove dependence on the US to strengthen our alliance. Yeah, maybe that'd be a better idea. UK, France, all their big countries are broken. The EU except Germany, which is on the brink of financial collapse. You can check their annual budgets. It's all negative. They're scrambling after that meeting. Yeah, but they're probably stressed out because we weren't going to put money into it. Yeah. There he is.
Thank you.
That's a lot of them. He is short. I mean, it's fair to say he definitely is short. Let's see if there's any more of this. Yeah, here it is.
Prime Minister Starmer said specifically it will mean UK boots on the ground and planes in the air. From your answer, I am taking that that will not mean Canadian boots on the ground. Is that, just to finish, is that the case, or are you considering Canadian boots on the ground in the form of peacekeepers down the road?
Every step of the way, Canada has looked at the ways it can best help. And as I've said a few days ago, everything's on the table. We know that the Canadian military has ways that it can contribute. We're not going to get ahead of the discussions on how to keep a peace that isn't yet in place. But Canada will be there and is open to doing what is necessary, but those will be decisions taken in the coming years by Canadians and their government.
I wonder how big like the Canadian military really is, because like if I look at, where is this military spending by country, and I look at this, Canada. I mean, like, is that Russia? Is that $86 billion, right? I mean, that's a lot. And the U.S. spends almost $1 trillion. So Canada's 600, 700K, yeah, we protect them all. Yeah, I feel like that's kind of what happens is the U.S. spends a lot of money and we protect other people too. It's very small for the size of the country. Iceland could invade Canada. Damn, that would suck. That'd be nuts, yeah. Do you feel like the popular sentiment in our generation is that we just want to stay out of it? Yeah, no, I think that the sentiment that a lot of young men and like young people have nowadays is that they don't want to spend their tax money on bullshit that's happening on the other side of the world. I think that's true with Israel. I think it's true with Ukraine. I think it's true in general. And that's actually the end of it. They don't care about geopolitical ramifications. They don't care about the, like second order effects of this. These are people who can't afford food, they can't afford rent, and they feel like they can't afford basic human dignity. So why the fuck are they going to care about what land Russia has when they can't even have land to live on? That's the truth. That's really where people are at. And I understand people might say that's the wrong opinion to have. That's the wrong opinion. That's fine. You can tell somebody that, but when somebody doesn't have a house, they're barely able to afford their fucking house, they're just not going to listen to you, right? And that's it. So yeah, it's nearsighted and dumb. How can you expect them to be smart when they can't even afford to live? Really? How can you expect that? Like, it's so naive to think like that. It is. People care about their own lives. This is the way that, like, so there's like concentric circles of giving a fuck, right? First, you care about yourself, then you care about your family, then you care about your community, then you care about your country, then you care about the world, right? Like, this is a general thing. Now, it's not always like this, but I think this is a general statement of like people's different tier lists. So if you still can't take care of this inner circle, what the fuck are you doing thinking about this? Well, you're not. And so that's the truth. And that's what a lot of people that are around my age, and especially people that are younger, think. No, you can't help others without helping yourself. Yeah, isn't that divided based on a heat map? Oh, that meme? Yeah, I seen that. Would it take a Pearl Harbor for that view to change? I think that if a Pearl Harbor happened, people, like, let's say another 9/11 happened. I think that people would just want us to bomb whatever country did it, and that's it. Just bomb the fuck out of them and then leave. I don't think anybody wants like a long-term continual investment. Like, we have all these bombs, we have all these missiles. We don't want to send over 1 million troops and another $1 trillion to fight a long, ongoing war. Yep, drone them, bomb them, don't think about it, right? You run a poll? Yeah, that's what I think that the public would want to see. Wipe them out? Yeah, wipe them out. I think that's what, if we had another September 11th, I think that's exactly what the public would want to see. What's this here? Just make them a dependent ally? Well, I don't know. And the social justice words coming from people exceeding that their give a fuck circle, not being ready. Well, that's the problem, right? Is that the give a fuck circle that people have is that everybody patronizes this, but you're not going to be able to guilt somebody who can't afford rent into wanting their tax dollars to go to a bomb that goes on the other side of the world. It's just not going to happen. It's not. As a veteran, this is what I signed up for, and not just, nah, just let it happen. It's not our fight. Here's the point, though, right? Is like, so you can have that viewpoint, and that's totally okay for you to have that viewpoint. That's okay. But the problem is that it is a democracy, right? People are voting for things. And I think that there are enough people out there that just simply don't want to be involved in these conflicts because they can't afford basic necessities. That's it. And like, if you can't understand that sentiment, then I think that you have a fundamental understanding of like human behavior. I think you need to understand, like, if you can't figure that out and you can't figure out why people think that way, and you just want to like patronize them and tell them they're stupid, why is it either or? Because it literally is. There's a set amount of money and a set amount of resources and a set amount of effort that's possible to be taken. And so every dollar that's spent in one direction is a dollar that's not spent in another direction. Like, you can't just infinitely you can infinitely print fiat currency, sure, but you can't infinitely create wealth. It's two very different things. I'm a veterinarian. Oh, I don't know about this. Give me a second, my desk one. Hello? Hey. Okay. go ahead.
One of the things here, when you just showed that graph of the of the military expenditures,
yeah,
notice that it was military expenditures. Where do those expenditures go? They go into the military-industrial complex. And so who do you think controls the government? The companies that are in the military-industrial
complex, yep,
you know.
yep.
And so,
I mean, Dick Cheney was literally the CEO of Halliburton, right?
At some point he was,
yeah.
I believe. I mean, I don't know. I mean,
and he was the vice president. Yeah.
The guy who shoots his own buddy in the face because he can't.
Oh, the shotgun. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, the quail, and then he shoots his friend in the face because he has no fucking arms control himself. You know, what a jackass. But that's where that money's going.
Yeah.
It's recycled, and you know, some CEO is netting another. You know, I told you about that one that left Harcourt. $1 million to not non-compete for 1 year.
Well, no, it's just they wasted money. I mean, I think that's it. I mean, I feel like, yeah, they need to audit the military and see where all this money's going. I think it's going to some bullshit for sure.
Yeah, I mean, this is. I understand that.
Yeah.
Elon there, you know, might want to do a little trial run on knocking down some easy targets like USAID before he goes after the biggies like the military.
That's what I hope he does.
Oh, me too. And that's where the fat is. I mean, because there isn't a lot of fat. All that aid stuff was like.
Well, it's millions compared to billions. I mean, it's obvious.
Yeah, it was puny. I mean, it was like a couple of percent at most. And but another thing I want to comment on was, you know, I've mentioned this to you before.
Yeah.
The U.S., especially in the 20th century, somehow got into some kind of an armed conflict where we put, you know, boots on the ground, as they say, in some other country, and we gave a country a bunch of shit, you know, machine guns and and all sorts of military equipment. Well, what they're doing, I mean, if you've got to know from being in the fucking military, you know, I spent 2 years, 7 months, 6 days, and 7 hours in the fucking Army, and I worked directly with the colonel.
Yeah.
And I learned, you know, a lot about this shit. And I've been around military people all my life. And one of the things that you know that they're up for is having the most realistic field exercises they can.
Well, what are you trying to get at?
Well, okay, my point is a lot of these conflicts and shit, and even what's going on now, they put boots on the ground as I shit you not, a fucking military exercise. That's why we're going in there and stepping on, you know, countries like Iraq. Iraq didn't even expect to be attacked.
Yeah.
And Afghanistan, that was a lost cause. That was just an asshole move.
Yeah.
But they, you know, and people don't know about this, but we've got troops on the ground in Congo and in Africa.
Well, you remember I was telling you about this with fucking that game, that Metal Gear Solid game I was talking to you about.
Yeah, you and I talked together.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's they've got active combat, really.
Yeah.
Because I told you that Evelyn, my old friend Evelyn, you know, her brother took a spear through the fucking shoulder.
Yeah.
In the Congo. I didn't even know they were in the Congo. This is way back in the day. But that is what is going on with a lot of this fucking...
with the money. Yeah, no, I get it. I get it.
It's the money, and it's a field exercise.
Yeah.
I told you you're going to send me to Germany for Reforger and
Well, look, I got to get back to it. There's a bunch of other stuff I got to do there.
Just wait a minute. And that was, you know, we all fly over to Europe. We pull out the... How much
A lot of money.
Yeah, fucking, I don't even know how much many of us went. I think there was a whole division. And you fly them over there, you got to put them up, you get them into the country, pull out, and the Germans don't, I mean, once you put that stores with the Germans, it's a nightmare to get it out of there. So to get your equipment out, then you run around in the field, a couple of few other guys die, frozen to their machine guns because you're on the Czech border in December and January. And but this is meant to test the system. This is what you do. And so I think a lot of these wars and when the shit that they start is just for the military exercise. And rid of our old equipment. All that old ammo, you don't want ammo to be sitting around for more than
Look. I know about all that. All right, I get it. I know.
No, you never mentioned it.
I can't talk about everything. Well, yeah. They send depreciating assets over to other countries as aid in order to write them off. Yeah, I get that. Of course they do that.
Over in Nam, we use 48 tanks, and the new battle tank, the current battle tank for the U.S. back then was an So we ship all our old equipment over to Nam, and let happen what may.
Right.
So anyway, that's just a couple of comments I want to get in on this because you don't have a military view. You don't know what those military guys are like, and they want real fucking exercises. If you can get, it's like playing guns. If you got you want to see if you can beat the other guys. You want to see how well you can do, and so they put out a red and a blue force, or whatever our colors would be, and we have a fight it out.
Okay.
And you have guys out there in the middle of December, January, February on the Czech border, freezing fucking cold.
Yeah.
And that's why they do that. So that's one of the reasons, and is to get these exercises in. Anyway,
all right.
Cut it.
Okay.
And keep talking about this shit. I'll be back on.
All right. I'll talk to you later. All right. Yeah. Bye.
Bye.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So the problem is it failed audits. It doesn't account for a significant amount of money. No. Yeah. I think they're just funneling money. That's what I think they're doing. I think they're wasting money. I think there's people that are getting paid on the back end. I think it's a fucking scam. That's what I think is going on. Honestly, yeah. That's the way I see it. I feel like it's obviously that case, right? And I don't know how you can't see it that way. But some people don't for whatever fucking reason. But it does seem like a lot of people apparently, here we go. There's some more of it.
Thank you so much, Molly. Let me go to Courtney. NBC News has new exclusive reporting about a phone call that happened between President Biden and the Ukrainian president back in June. What do we know about that conversation, Courtney?
Yeah, that's right, Kate. So in this conversation, President Biden called President Zelensky to tell him about a roughly $1 billion package of additional equipment and weapons for the Ukrainian military coming from the United States. During the course of the call, President Zelensky continued, according to a number of officials who we spoke with who are familiar with the call, President Zelensky continued to talk about the additional equipment and weapons and support that he and his military needed. According to these officials, they said that President Biden finally just got frustrated and lost his temper and told President Zelensky, look, you could be a little bit more grateful. The reason that this story is interesting to us and is something that we are reporting on.
See, yeah, we need to have these crash outs publicly. Yeah, I want to see more public crash outs.
And officials were speaking to us about is because it shows that all these months ago, President Biden already realized that there was going to be a point where the American people, members of Congress, where people would start potentially pushing back on all these billions and billions of dollars of aid and equipment that the U.S. has been providing to Ukraine. And he knew that the narrative out there needed to be that the Ukrainian people and President Zelensky were grateful for it if the support was going to continue at that same level, Kate.
All right.
I think that's probably true to an extent. There's a lot less people
really
support it.
Interesting reporting. You can find more on our website, NBCnews.com. Molly Hunter, thank you.
What about Israel then? No, I don't know why people can't understand this. The reason why there's not as much criticism about Israel is because it gets labeled as anti-Semitism. It's like hating Jews. That's the main reason why people aren't bringing that shit up. Now, I could be wrong, And there could be a little bit more to it, but I think that's a big fucking reason. That's a massive reason why people don't go and talk about it. And it shouldn't. Well, that's it. Right? Funny that. It's emotional argumentation. Yeah, and the best argument isn't an argument. So keep that in mind. So, yeah. King Charles, this is it too? Well, yeah. I mean, it looks like Britain's really trying to help Zelensky a lot.
Ukrainian President Zelensky and European leaders are scrambling to revive talks on Ukraine's future. Here with me now for the latest is the White House National Security Advisor, Mike Waltz. Thank you so much for being here, sir. I want to ask for your view on what the Ukrainian president said after that Oval Office meeting. He repeatedly went online. He thanked the U.S. and President Trump for the help that the U.S. is giving, saying it is crucial to have the president's support, that no one wants peace more than we do. Is that enough for President Trump to get things back on track?
Nope.
Well, the president took calls from Prime Minister Starmer. Yesterday, he's also taken a call from Prime Minister Meloni of Italy. President Zelensky is with those European leaders now. Those European leaders are talking to him directly about getting to the negotiation table. What does he need to see to actually negotiate with us and negotiate with the Russians, go to confidence building measures, go to a ceasefire, and bring this horrific war to an end? And what was so, I think, stunning to all of us in the Oval Office was that it was not clear Zelensky was going to go to negotiations at all, that he would ever be able to negotiate with Putin, and whether he shared our goal of ending this war. So what I made clear as Secretary Rubio, and I said, look, this cannot proceed, was that this was a huge missed opportunity for him and for his country. He could have left the White House on Friday on the heels of an engagement with President Macron of France, with Prime Minister Starmer.
I also think that there's a lot of people that are probably happy now that the EU is backing up Ukraine. Because now it's like, basically, I think that the perspective is that this is the way I think a lot of like voters here feel in the US, is that why are we putting all this money into it when the EU isn't putting enough money into it? Right? I mean, and again, I'm not like trying to repeat that shit about how like we paid more money than the EU did or anything else, but I'm saying that's the way that people see it.
The United Kingdom, where they were talking about European boots on the ground, security guarantees for Ukraine, a positive movement towards ending this war, and having Ukraine and the United States being bound together for a generation economically. But that what we made clear was that could not proceed, at least for now. And President Trump said in his announcement on X, when President Zelensky is ready to truly engage for peace, he's welcome back anytime.
So what does the president need? What does President Trump need? Does he need a public apology? Does he want a phone call? Can you be specific in how to make that happen?
Well, it wasn't clear to us that President Zelensky was ready to negotiate in good faith towards an end to this war. For us, kind of talking about the details and demands of security guarantees before, as President Trump said, look, I don't know that we can get both sides of the table at this point. And, you can't kind of trash the other side going, litigating through the history of this conflict if we're going to bring both sides to the table.
Yeah, he's right about that.
And so coming to the Oval Office, with the body language, the shaking of head, the kind of the arms crossed, we found it incredibly disrespectful. We were ready to sign that deal. I want to address directly that this was some type of ambush is absolutely false. We had negotiated the minerals deal in the weeks prior. It was difficult, but it was done and finalized and ready to be signed in the East Room.
So since you've been talking about his body language and his...
So they had that shit all planned out? All that got burned up. Wow. That's nuts.
His approach. I do want to ask about your view of Volodymyr Zelensky, because right after the Ukraine war happened, after Russia invaded Ukraine, to be more specific, you were on CNN and you called Zelensky a 21st century Churchill because of how he was leading the fight against Russian tyranny. And yesterday you called him, or at least you compared him to an ex-girlfriend who wants to argue everything that you said 9 years ago rather than moving forward. Is that really how you see it now? And do you see it all?
I'm not saying Zelensky's like that, but like, fucking based. It's fucking funny. That's funny.
The perspective that he was trying to put out there, which is that he does not trust Vladimir Putin, and he feels that he needs some kind of security guarantee.
Well, Donna, I would also point out, if we want to do a history lesson on Churchill, that he stood and fought for his people. President Zelensky stood and fought for Ukraine. But Churchill was also voted out of office in 1945. He was a man for a moment. but he did not then transition England into the next phase. And it's unclear whether President Zelensky, particularly after what we saw Friday, is ready to transition to Ukraine to an end to this war and to negotiate and have to compromise. Yeah. And what President Trump said right there that day in the Oval Office is both sides are going to compromise here. He's made that clear to both Vladimir Putin and Zelensky, but it did not appear to us that Zelensky was ready to go to peace.
Yeah.
So when he makes that clear to us, publicly and privately, that's the president is trying to end this war. He campaigned on it. He was elected on it. And that's going to take tough diplomacy. Who would criticize us? But you have members of Democrats that are criticizing us for dealing with the Russians, the same Democrats that had no problem dealing with the murderous Iranian regime in an Iran deal that was horrific and used the Russians as intermediaries.
Can I just follow up?
I think you've got one of those senators coming on your show. So
I do think that a lot of that politics, it's always opportunistic, right? Every single time this shit's opportunistic.
So I'm finding the kind of hypocritical pearl clutching in Washington, D.C. to be a bit ridiculous.
Can I just follow up on what you said about Winston Churchill? Because it is interesting. He was definitely a man for the moment during World War II. Are you suggesting that President Trump wants Zelensky to resign?
We need a leader.
I think that he's putting pressure on Zelensky and bringing up the language of Zelensky resigning in order to weaken Zelensky's position with his people, in order to make Zelensky more willing to come to the table to make a deal. Like, if I was Trump, that's what I would do. So it's a second order effect that lowers his power over his people.
Can deal with us. Eventually deal with the Russians.
It's a brutal tactic. It's a rat tactic for sure. But I'm saying that's what I think he's doing.
And end this war.
Same way I call him a dictator.
If it becomes apparent that President Zelensky's either personal motivations or political motivations are divergent from ending the fighting in his country, then I think we have a real issue on our hands. But look, Donna, let's ask ourselves, what is this war going to look like a year from now? The patience of the American people to keep giving billions and billions and billions with no end in sight is not unlimited. And we also made that clear to President Zelensky at the end of that meeting.
So you're saying he might be...
time on his side is time on the American people's side. What I'm saying is this war needs to end, and that's going to take...
And I think also it takes the American people against him whenever Trump calls him a dictator and says that he has a 4% approval rating and says that he won't hold elections, etc., right? Because those are all things that make him look bad in the eyes of the American people, that make people less supportive of Ukraine, that make Zelensky have less public pressure and public power by basically causing people to not support him, right? That's the reason why. Trump's fucking liar, fake script, not gonna lie. I listen. That's what works. And I think it did work. I think it is working. It's working as we speak. It's working. So you can say that it's bad. You can say it's mean. You can say he shouldn't do that. True. But that's what he's doing. That is what he's doing. I think it is working. How does it work? Because a lot of people are viewing Ukraine. So I think this is a shift of opinion versus now versus maybe 2 years ago. There's been a very big shift in opinion, and I see this discussed a lot, where Ukraine, basically the idea is that Zelensky wants to keep the war up in Ukraine because he doesn't want to have to do an election. And I think also Ukraine just wants the war to go on forever, and they want us to pay for it forever. And this is a very common sentiment that that the people in the U.S. have. You can say what the fuck all you want. I don't agree with this. I'm saying this exists. That's retarded? Well, there's a lot of retards. So what the hell do you expect? What do you expect? It's ridiculous, yeah. Imagine even thinking that. What the fuck, dude? Am I wrong? Am I wrong for accurately identifying that sentiment? Do you guys think that sentiment does not exist? No. You can say the sentiment is wrong, but Me saying that it exists is not fucking wrong. What an ally you are. You get invaded and we make you look bad so your enemy wins. People just don't get it. 100% exists. Yeah, I'm telling you guys, like that's what's going on.
Concessions on territory. That's going to take Russian concessions on security guarantees. That's going to take all sides coming to the table, and we are working very hard to drive those negotiations forward. We had our engagement in Riyadh with the Russians. We are working to have an engagement.
Why chat's so emotional? Chat's emotional because they think that it's completely unfair that Ukraine is having to give up land. They're having to give up their identity. They're having to give up their autonomy, all because Russia wants to invade their country. Because like you have to look at it from the perspective, like a lot of people now, Russia, it is unfair. And the reality is that Ukraine doesn't have the negotiating power that Russia and the United States do. Things are not equal. Russia is more powerful than Ukraine, and the United States is more powerful than both of them. So Ukraine doesn't matter as much in the negotiations, and what they want doesn't matter as much. Straight up, that's how it is. And you can say that's horrible. That's the way it shouldn't be. This is the way that diplomacy has worked and wars have worked for thousands of years. It doesn't work the way it should work. It works the way it does work.
We thought a deal with the Ukrainians, and then we'll bring all sides together. That only President Trump can do that. And I find it incredulous.
Somebody says what actually matters? The ability to have force and the ability to exercise that force in a precise manner. If Russia didn't have nuclear weapons and Russia didn't have the military that it did, the entire conversation would be different. The only thing that matters ultimately is power, violence, and the ability to exercise that violence. That is what really, at the end of the day, matters.
He's being criticized for that.
You just mentioned a specific concession, potentially, that you would like Vladimir Putin to make. Can you elaborate on that? Because we haven't heard any specifics before.
Well, we can't get any specifics from the Ukrainians, but this will clearly be some type of territorial concession for security guarantees going forward. I mean, that has been discussed in previous rounds of negotiations.
A security guarantee from the U.S.?
That is a broader framework.
Who guarantees that security?
Well, right now, some first principles. This needs to be a permanent end, not a temporary end. This needs to be European-led security guarantees going forward. Part of that is Europe's contribution to its own defense, so it has the capability to do so. We've had both the United Kingdom and France talking about their troops on the ground going forward. And then, let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. What type of support we provide or not is to be negotiated. But one thing is clear, we do not see Ukraine being a member of NATO because that would automatically drag U.S. troops in.
That's totally off the table. There's no way that happens. Like, in my opinion, I feel like every other country that they add in NATO increases the probability of this happening again. Russia would never accept it. Yeah, exactly. It's like instant World War III. Yeah, it's just not going to happen. U.S. already gave security guarantees back when Ukraine gave away its nukes. These kind of mean fuck all. In what was that, 1993, I think? Or 94, something like that.
But Donna, look, we need to get all sides to the table, and we're very frustrated that we did not see that from the Ukrainians after we had negotiated a minerals deal that would bind us together, grow their economy, and change the nature of our aid so that the American taxpayer could recoup
What are your conversations?
That was all done and ready to be signed on Friday.
What are your conversations like right now with the Russians in terms of reopening conversations and perhaps diplomatic normalization, embassies, and so forth?
Well, Secretary Rubio's team at a working level have met with the Russians about broadening our embassy operations. They were virtually shut down on all sides. We don't, I mean, it's just a practical matter and common sense. If we're going to drive these negotiations forward, our embassies have to be operable. Those conversations are happening, and we're also having conversations about how they will end and what they need to see to end this war. There will obviously be differences on all sides, and the United States, through shuttle diplomacy and the leadership of President Trump, will drive forward to bridge those gaps. Our point is, you know, talking about the fine details of security guarantees is like talking about the details of a warranty before you know if you're going to buy the thing. We're driving both sides to the negotiating table, and yet people are trying to put the cart before the horse.
And last question, there are reports that the Trump administration, you are talking about pausing offensive cyber operations against Russia. Is that true?
That has not been part of our discussions. There will be all kinds of carrots and sticks to get this war to an end.
All right. National Security Advisor Mike Waltz, thank you so much for your time this morning. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I don't see how this ends without Ukraine giving up land and giving up a bunch of shit, to be honest. I don't see how it ends. It's not a good answer. Yeah, the interview was like not super great. There's the video right there. What was that response? Yeah, I don't know. Like a lot of non-answers, right? Very, very, very common non-answers. Yeah, it doesn't end without that. Yeah, that's how power dynamics work. Exactly. And yeah, sorry, but the USA guarantees are not worth jack shit unless you put soldiers there. Yeah, but like, I don't think that Americans, like, personally, do I want to put soldiers in Ukraine to defend Ukraine? No. No. It's too much. EU's already doing it? Yeah. EU's already doing it. Now, there could be a point if things escalate like way higher and way bigger, then maybe that would be an option. But at this current point, no. Do you think Europeans should? I don't know. It's not my problem. Yeah, I have no idea. But you asked Ukraine to give up their nukes in 1993 in return for support. Here's the problem that you have, and this is something that I've been trying to explain, is that you're not going to get a 30-year-old voter to commit to giving away and signing away their future because of an original sin that was committed before they existed. Ultimately, if you are 27 or 30 years old, this deal happened before you existed. Or let's say you're 40 years old. This deal happened whenever you were 10 years old. You didn't sign this deal. You didn't have anything to do with this deal. And the idea that you want to sign away, you know, multiple like people to die and billions of dollars for something that you had nothing to do with, that's not going to happen. Now, whether you think that's a good or a bad decision doesn't matter. Trash take? I think in a lot of ways it is a trash take. You're right. I think you're right. But I still think they think that. It's just the truth. It is. Yeah, that's just the way it is. It's trash, but it's reality? Yeah. So there's no treaty in the world that would work for 20 years if people don't want to honor it? Yeah, it's about right. Yeah. If there's enough pressure and position, then people would just ignore it. Yeah. I'd say maybe 30, maybe a little bit longer, but yeah. Countries have integrity. Integrity is something that some people can't afford. And I think that people are dramatically downplaying the average day-to-day struggles that American citizens have. And by downplaying them, I think that what they do is they end up doing a disservice to the problem. Yeah, people don't care about integrity. They don't care about any of this stuff. They just want to have their money go to their taxes, their tax money go to their people. That's it. was made back then because people were freaked out about nukes. The new generation didn't have to deal with it, thought it isn't going to care about it. Yeah, I don't think so. So if that was your opinion on this, what would you say if if Russia decided to push further to make the Soviet Union real again? I think that you could mobilize American citizens to be okay with fighting back against Russia if they invaded a NATO country. But I think unless they invaded a NATO country, then you couldn't get American citizens to go along with it. That's like my pulse check of like kind of what I think the difference would be. Yeah, it's Europe's right. And I think that even then it would be a very hard sell. Yeah, Russian wouldn't care. Americans don't care. Yeah, I think that, again, Americans are very much... And I think there's also another issue where... And this goes back to, like, the military spending. I think there's a big issue that a lot of Americans have, is that they see a lot of Europeans that live, you know, they have free healthcare and they have a bunch of these other things. And one of the reasons why they have these things is because, at least this is the perception that a lot of people have, is that America gives them security guarantees and ensures that other countries won't invade them and effectively protects them. So they see these countries in Europe that are living with this higher standard of living, and they have like more like entitlement programs, etc. What? No. I mean, that's 1,000% true. Okay. All right. Okay. Don't shoot the messenger. There's a lot of people that think that. Not 100% bad. I'm telling you, like, guys, it's not just a perception, it's the truth. It doesn't matter whether it's the truth or not. Yeah, so it's literally just factual, like this is it. And so a lot of people feel this way, and they think that Europe is able to enjoy a higher degree of living, and they're able to have these entitlement programs because they're not spending all of this money on the military that the US is. And so I think this is a growing resentment that Americans have towards Europeans. And I think that resentment is kind of like being tested now with how many Americans are okay with the Europeans taking over the responsibility for Ukraine. That's how it is. Wrong? Dumb take? Okay. That's what people think. Yeah, that's what people think. That's it. Yeah, are you feeling this way, or where's this statement coming from? I think there's probably like an element of truth to it, but I don't think it's like super true. I think actually Europe just has way higher taxes, and they also have standing militaries as well. I think also the US spends way too much on its military because it's been captured by the military-industrial complex. So I think in like a pie graph, right? Like, yeah, sure, there's like a slice, but it's not a huge slice. Like that's my opinion on it. So yeah. And there might be like a couple other things that I'm not thinking of. As ambassador, all the people, and can speak for the average person. I'm not speaking for the average person. I'm just trying to. My intention is always to understand how people think and how they feel, and in doing so, that helps me understand what's going to happen. Right? Like that's my goal. Like that's what I always like being able to do, is understanding how people think. And like being able to identify what that thinking is and then figure out why that thinking is the way it is. And I know some people might disagree with that, or you might not like the outcomes of that, but that is fundamentally what my idea is. That's very annoying. Yeah, and also as one speaks for many Americans, yeah, I do think that I speak for a lot of people. But you're basically saying that the U.S. Just decided to forget the fact that EU backed the U.S. in their wars. I mean, like, are you talking about, like, with, like, Iraq or something? I'm not sure, like, what you mean by that. Specifically, barely. Yeah, I don't think that American citizens care about that because they think that it's something that's extremely minimal. And also, they viewed that as, like, also... like the threat of like you know, extremism and terrorism is something that everybody was responsible for dealing with, and not just the US, right? And so because we were retaliating for September 11th, that's one thing, but also this stuff could have happened to Europe as well. And so like I don't know about how much money was spent over there in Europe in like the Iraq war and like the Middle East wars, but it probably wasn't that much compared to the US. Pretty sure we bailed them out of World War II. Yeah, definitely. average human doesn't understand what they think themselves and why. What chance do they have of understanding what someone else thinks? Well, I mean, I think it's still something you should try to do, right? I feel like it should be. Yeah, that's what I would say. Chat's fucking retarded. Well, the thing is that, again, I think it's just like a really hot topic for people, right? Yeah, it's just an extremely hot topic, and people are like really opinionated about it, and that's really what it comes down to. So there's no reason to get upset about it. I mean, like, I know people in chat get mad about stuff, but I really think this is how people are looking at it. Now, I could be wrong, but it's basically my job to look at sentiment for stuff, right? Like, you think about it, it's like one thing that I spend all of my time doing, and that's where I'm reading. That's what I'm seeing. I'll be right back. Give me a second.
Here's what's weird. First of all, what is it like to buy a company for $44 billion and then people call you a Nazi on that same thing that you bought?
I did not see it coming.
Man.
It's classic. People will gobble anything down.
Yeah.
that was a good one. I didn't expect that.
Oh, he's never gonna stop.
Wait.
Yeah.
What is it like? Like all this, people.
Hello everyone, and a hearty welcome to this exploration of the Fatal Frame, or as I prefer to call it, Project Zero PS2 Trilogy, with a small segue into the Wii version of the second game. This little hello is mainly for regular subscribers who may have already watched my other videos on this series. I've basically duct taped these 3 videos together and made a few minor edits here and there to avoid repeating myself too much. So if you were looking for new content here, well, I'm sorry to disappoint you, but you've probably seen all of this before. I did re-add in a small joke into the urban legend part of the first video that didn't quite make the cut the first time around, but this video is mainly for those who like to listen to much longer content while working or doing other things. Hopefully the longer than average runtime on this one will attract a few new people to the channel, and if that's you then I say welcome, and if you wind up liking this, there's a couple of other larger videos on these 2 game series here if you're interested. Anyway, with all that aside, I'll leave it to my past self to take care of you from here on out. Have fun whatever you do, keep it polite in the comments, and maybe I'll catch you all at the very end for a special sign-off. Peace. Shinjuku is one of my favorite places to visit in Tokyo. As well as having the biggest foreign bookstore in Japan, it's overflowing with interesting places to spend time with friends, enjoy a few games, and some of the best heavy metal bars in the city. But take a walk away from the lights and the noise, and you might find that the colossal neon structures that conjure the image of Neo-Tokyo from classic cyberpunk movies like Akira fall away. You might find yourself weaving through tightly packed old houses in a much quieter part of the city. It's almost impossible to escape the noise in Tokyo, but it will fall away as you wander these old winding streets in an area that was once its own ward of the city, called Yotsuya. Spend enough time searching, and you might find yourself face to face with a Shinto shrine. Not an uncommon thing here in Japan, and always a delight when you find an especially beautiful one while on a walking adventure around a city. Still, if something about this particular place seems a little off, maybe the air feels just a little too cold, or you feel like maybe it's gotten just a little too quiet, and you'd rather be somewhere else, well, there might be a good reason for getting bad vibes at the shrine of Oiwa, and Tamiya Remon. One of the most famous kabuki plays, inspired by an old Japanese folk legend, which, like most folk tales, is rumored to be based on true events. Yotsuya Kaiden tells the story of a woman disfigured and ultimately murdered by her husband. A victim of jealousy and treachery, Oiwa's spirit couldn't rest and returned to torment and drive her husband to madness. A popular topic of ukiyo-e, and adapted into over 30 different movies, as well as being the inspiration for countless other Japanese horror media, the disfigured visage of Oiwa is one of Japan's most famous ghost stories. She is the quintessential Onryu, or vengeful ghost. The woman in the white kimono. I hope you'll forgive the somewhat dramatic and misleading introduction, especially given that I'm about to show you how the magic trick works, but I feel a good ghost story needs a touch of the theatrical, and the bizarre way stories and storytellers can rewrite history to create more powerful legends is a theme we'll be exploring later. While Yotsuya Kaiden is a very popular play, there's absolutely no evidence to suggest anywhere that it is anything other than a total fabrication. I had to do a little digging in Japanese to get at this, because Wikipedia is not a good academic resource. There are plenty of statements in need of citation in their entries, and plenty more citations that just lead to dead pages. Likewise, all the top results you get when diving into this are either poorly researched articles, or ones more interested in selling you a story than actually showing you the facts, making any kind of even half-serious scholarly research a gigantic pain in the arse. What I discovered, though, is that the so-called folk legends that inspired the play most likely surfaced after the play had been released. Professor Masakatsu Gunji, scholar of Japanese literature at Waseda University, even speculated that these rumors may have been started as a kind of viral marketing campaign, though there is no substantial evidence to back up this claim. Due to its popularity, everyone was talking about it, and given the lives of simple and mostly isolated country folk in the 19th century, and the massive distances between settlements, especially in a dangerously mountainous country like Japan, well, you can see how a few embellished retellings could seriously warp the narrative, changing it from a popular kabuki play conjured in one writer's mind, to a tale handed down through the generations, dating back centuries, and even confirmed by different sources in different parts of the country. At the actual shrine, okay, I got you there too. This isn't even a Shinto shrine. It's Yoonji. Ji meaning temple. The original Oiwa Inari shrine was damaged in the war and relocated, and this temple was built here in honor of Lady Oiwa. It's a really beautiful and peaceful place. Oiwa herself is interred here at Myokoji. Yes, she was real, but her life and love with her husband was nothing at all like in the play. And praying here is not only thought of as exceptionally lucky in general, but also very good for matchmaking. Still, there is power in legends and ghost stories. Power enough for them to run away and try to write themselves into the larger cultural zeitgeist. For that reason, we'll return to Tokyo and Oiwa later, but this is something that also happened to the very made-up mansion in the very made-up story that we are talking about today. Project Zero, just Zero in Japan, and Fatal Frame in the USA, you guys got the much cooler name this time, began in the mind of director Makoto Shibata. This is the part of the video where I at least feel comfortable confining my research to Wikipedia and a few of its links. However, one major resource I used when unraveling the creation of this game was the interview with lead developer Shibata-san and producer Keisuke Kikuchi that was documented in the Japanese Zero Perfect Guide. This had thankfully been uploaded and archived in the Wayback Machine, and I was able to translate it with the help of ChatGPT. Mr. Shibata is a longtime employee of Koei Tecmo and a lover of atmospheric horror. His first game credit is a very interesting 3D dungeon game called Tecmo's Deception: Invitation to Darkness. I didn't know anything about this game until I watched this video here, but it was apparently while working on this supernatural revenge story filled with demons and gothic castles that the idea for what would become Project Zero first took root. They had initially thought about using an old-style Japanese house for one of these games, But for various reasons, including technological limitations at the time, they opted not to go down that road and shelved the setting for a future project. The success of games like Resident Evil, and especially Silent Hill, had shown publishers that there was a demand for Japanese horror in the gaming space, and Mr. Shibata was strongly inspired by the atmosphere and storytelling devices used in the original Silent Hill. It was quite early in development though that ghosts were decided upon as the main antagonists for the game, as this was clearly an untapped reservoir for the emerging horror game genre, and something that could set Project Zero apart from other games like Resident Evil. This would also give the game its distinctly Japanese look and feel, and also brought about the name Zero, in Kikuchi-san's words. Since we were going for a Japanese-style horror approach, we decided to set the enemies as ghosts. When we were pondering the existence of ghosts, I suddenly thought about how we use Zero to represent something that doesn't exist in the world, so we decided to name it Zero. Lead designer Makoto Shibata seems to be somewhat personally in touch with the supernatural, as in numerous interviews made over the years for all entries in the series, he cites his own dreams and experiences with the supernatural as another major inspiration for the events in the games. If I have to be completely honest though, most of what I've read sounds a lot like lucid dreaming and sleep paralysis. I don't wish to be entirely dismissive of his experiences, of course, but thanks to previous jobs leaving me with an erratic sleep pattern, I have personal experience with sleep paralysis myself, and it sounds an awful lot like what he describes. For those who don't know, you are basically dreaming that you are awake and unable to move, and that someone is in the room or even on the bed with you, usually with malevolent intent. I can personally attest to just how real these experiences seem. Likewise, I can tell you that I vividly remember having experiences with apparitions of my own when I was younger. Sounds scary, right? Except, I'm a 42-year-old man, recalling events from when my age was almost in the single digits. I've always had an overactive imagination, and I was terrified of the dark back then because kids in school used to tell me ghost stories. It's funny how the ghosts we see always look exactly like the ones in the stories, isn't it? So while among all the possibilities that could be, one of them is I am remembering a traumatic encounter with an actual ghost, it's much more likely that I'm just remembering dreams and that I was just scaring myself. Whatever the truth of Mr. Shibata's experiences though, they've inspired some truly haunting things in this original entry, and the many others that came after it. He also drew inspiration from numerous Japanese horror movies and war movies to help create the sense of claustrophobic dread that he wanted to project onto the player, as well as story beats from the Yokai Hunter manga. Development on the game went into full swing when Tecmo got their hands on the PlayStation 2 technology, and the finished product released only a few months after Silent Hill 2. So while Tecmo were a little late to a party that had started on the PlayStation 1, it could certainly be argued that this series represents the third pillar in the gaming equivalent of Nihon Sandai Onryu, or the trinity of great Japanese ghost stories. Maybe Nihon Sandai Horogemu? Yes, that is how they say horror games. But however you want to label it, and I fully understand I could just be enamored with a new experience here, but this also might be my favorite of the three. Before moving forward, I just want to do a little housekeeping here. Unlike my retrospectives of Silent Hill and Resident Evil, which were personal trips down nostalgia lane for me, this is actually my first time playing this series. I worked in a video game store through the end of the PS2 era and into the PS3, Xbox 360 generation, and I actually recall seeing these games on the shelves there. My boss told me it was probably the scariest of the horror games he'd played so far. He never really explained the exorcism powers of the camera in the game, and described it as the game where you can't fight and just take photos of ghosts. And while I was over my fear of the dark and overall skeptical about all things supernatural by that point, I felt it better to simply not invite more sleepless nights into my life. I was drawn to this finally because of Avalanche Jared's retrospective on the entire series that you can see here, and I really recommend you do if you haven't, and the potential the story had for leading me down a folklore rabbit hole, which in a way it did, and we'll talk about that later. All the capture you see here was made using PC SX2 and a copy of the UK version of Project Zero that I ripped to my PC. As much as I love retro gaming on original hardware, it simply isn't practical in my current apartment to have multiple retro consoles lying around. The emulation is basically perfect though, and rest assured the moment these classics wind up on GOG or Steam, no, of course not the Epic Store, no one shops there, I'll be picking them up. Finally, if you do enjoy the video, please give it a thumbs up and drop me a comment telling me about your experiences with the game. And if you really like what you see here, and you want to see more, smash that subscribe button and turn on notifications. And YouTube memberships are now a thing on this channel, and yeah, it finally happened. I have a Patreon. So if you'd like to help me out there with real money, well, I'd very much appreciate it. The story of Project Zero is something that is revealed in a slow and somewhat disjointed fashion. In fact, as we take control of our protagonist, Miku Hinasaka, and explore the fabled Himuro Mansion, we actually find ourselves catching snippets of several stories that belong to various people who explored this place before us. It's as we piece together their notes and stumble across their unfortunate ends, that we start to realize what the greater dark power is that stains this ground, and how it was formed, and what, if anything, we can do about it. Our heroine for this saga makes it very clear from the outset that both her and her brother have always been able to see things that other people can't. This eccentricity left them somewhat isolated from others, and led to them developing a deep bond even for siblings. Our prologue chapter actually begins with Miku's brother Mafuyu exploring this place in search of his mentor, the best-selling novelist Junsei Takamine. Mr. Takamine and a small retinue came here to investigate the many strange stories connected to this place, and he and all his party mysteriously vanished not long after. Now, Mafuyu and Miku are not only blessed, or cursed depending on how you look at it, with a sixth sense of sorts, similar to that possessed by their mother, but he also has access to an old camera that is something of a potent family heirloom. And while it's never formally named in this game, it is in fact one of the camera obscuras created by renowned occultist Kunihiko Asao, one of several cameras believed to have the power to not only reveal spirits, but also exorcise them. So as one of the many angry ghosts that haunts this poisoned ground attempts to move in on our boy, well, let's just say, the cat shows his claws. Unfortunately for Mafuyu, the source of the darkness in Himuro Mansion is far more potent than a single angry ghost, and even the camera's power isn't going to help him against what comes next. And so it is, sometime after this, that our heroine arrives at the same location to begin her own harrowing 3-night adventure of absolute terror. And along the way, she's going to discover that, a long time ago, some truly horrifying things were happening here. Project Zero is a lonely adventure for sure. While isolation was a big part of Resident Evil and Silent Hill, there were always a couple more characters to bump into and share a few poorly acted dialogue lines with. So while there are a few appropriately delivered voice lines in the game, most of the story is revealed through what we find in our environment, and indeed, the environment itself. In the early stages of the game, as Miku is exploring the mansion, she actually stumbles into the leavings of the previous expedition led by Takamine-san. This not only involves notes and old school cassette tapes, as this game is set in the 1980s, a little more on that later, but also the echoes and indeed the spirits of the members of the party themselves, all of whom were unable to leave once they had entered and became infected by something called the rope curse. This is something our girl Miku is going to get all too familiar with, as she too soon finds herself waking up to find rope burn-like marks on her wrists and ankles. And God only knows what will happen if that last one wraps around her neck, but it did not go well for the others. The story is somewhat disorienting and disjointed at the beginning, but I think that's what makes the whole thing so damn intriguing. You're finding these oddly shaped jigsaw pieces and you're sort of seeing how they go together, building your idea of the events that followed from that, and then readjusting things when new information arrives. Chief amongst this though, we discover a story of how this valley was protected from something by 5 sacred shrines containing 5 sacred mirrors that all shattered during an earthquake in the past. There's also a mention of a calamity that led to 1,347 souls being trapped within the mansion. Then there's talk of a shrine maiden, a girl who is isolated from the world for a long time and prepared for a sacred ritual to hold back a terrible power. A ritual that has something to do with ropes. Ropes are actually a common thing found in Shinto shrines and play a big part in ritual purification. But still, there seems to be something ominous about these particular ropes, and the strange marks that so many who come here, including Miku, are finding on their bodies. So we could call this a mid-game spoiler section here. Well, even if you are doing a totally blind playthrough, you can probably figure out this part by the end of the first night. But I wouldn't want to deprive anyone of a chance at a blind run, so by all means skip ahead to the next section if that's what you want to do. For the rest of us, well.
Can you and should you trust Mozilla Firefox? TLDR for people who don't want to watch the whole video, who just saw the title, it's the wrong question. Don't care about any of this, just install LibreWolf. Install this and just forget that this entire thing happened. LibreWolf is an open source fork of Firefox that removes all of the telemetry, Pocket, the sponsored ad crap. So instead of having to go through your settings and manually harden Firefox and opt out of all this crap and make sure it's not running, with LibreWolf, it's just like that by default. You can import your bookmarks very easily into it. All of your settings are going to look identical to the way they did before. The web browser looks the way it did before. It loads the way it did before, because for the most part, it's the same browser. They just do some modifications for privacy and security to get rid of that stuff. So if you're not savvy and you don't want to read through all this drama and figure out what's going on, install this and be happy, and you'll never have to worry about this again. So what do I think of what happened? What did happen? And is this a big deal? In my opinion, this is something of a nothing burger. Before you all kill me, Mozilla is absolutely horrific at communication, and they should be raked over the coals for how they made their announcement. They put into their terms of use, and I quote, "You give Mozilla all rights necessary to operate Firefox, including processing data as we describe in the Firefox privacy notice, as well as acting on your behalf to help you navigate the internet. When you upload or input information through Firefox, you hereby grant us a non-exclusive, royalty-free, worldwide license to use that information to help you navigate, experience, and interact with online content as you indicate with your use of Firefox." So this is obviously one of the stupidest possible things that you could ever write, and it is incredibly overly broad. And it's one of these areas where, in trying to hedge their bets to be in compliance with the California Consumer Privacy Act, which I've read a lot of today, they wound up putting the stupidest thing on there possible and shooting themselves in the foot reputationally. They followed up on this by updating the page to say, and I quote, this is the standard thing that drives me insane, "We've seen a little confusion about the language regarding licenses, so we want to clear that up." Any of you watch Game of Thrones? Remember that episode where Tywin Lannister is looking at the Kid King Joffrey, and he's like, "The king is tired," and Joffrey goes, "I'm not tired. I'm not confused." I read what you posted, and it was horrible. They also removed "We don't sell your data" promise from their FAQ. So yeah, this is from wiki.rossmangroup.com. I'm loading it here because archive.org is literally crashed. The way that you know, by the way, that you have screwed up from a PR standpoint is when so many people are going to archive.org to figure out what your website used to look like before you changed it, that you've crashed archive.org. I can load other sites on archive.org, but I can't load mozilla.org on archive.org. You crashed archive.org, Mozilla communication team. Good on you. Now back to this. Here's what it used to say. Is Firefox free? Yep, the Firefox browser is free. Super free, actually. No hidden costs or anything. You don't pay to use it. Is Firefox safe? Not only is it safe, but it helps keep your private information safe. The Firefox browser also blocks known third-party trackers, social media trackers, crypto miners, and fingerprinters from collecting your data. Wait a second. Oh my God, did whoever did this put the before on the right and the after on the left? Are you insane? Sir, whoever contributed to the wiki, and God bless you for contributing to the wiki, but did you seriously put the after on the left and the before on the right? Bruh. Are you fucking animal? Okay, back to this. Here's the way it used to look. Yep, the Firefox browser is free, super free actually, no hidden cost. You don't pay anything to use it, and we don't sell your personal data. Does Firefox sell your personal data? Nope, never have, never will. And we protect you from many of the advertisers who do. Firefox products are designed to protect your privacy. That's a promise. And then on the new page, that's on the left, they took away the references to not selling personal data. That's really bad PR if you don't explain it very, very well. And they did a very, very poor job of doing that. Also, the changes went up before users were notified. This went up on February 25th. Change. Somebody asked about this on the forum on the 26th, and this article that they created was on the 26th. Further, it says that by using Firefox that you are accepting these terms of use. So many of you, similar to with LG refrigerators, when you're signing for something without seeing the terms because they threw away the box, you were technically agreeing to a terms of use that you had never seen, that you were never informed of because, well, 2025. And this is also horrible timing because Google is moving over to Manifest v3. They are really crippling ad blockers in Chrome. So this would be a great time if Mozilla had their head screwed on properly to think, oh, wow, let's do a giant PR blitz. Brave Browser, back when AdBlock was not working properly or certain ad blockers were being broken by YouTube, decided to do an ad campaign. They actually paid YouTube to do ads, and it said, block this ad, Brave Browser. Whether or not you like or hate Brendan Eich or Brave, that's the way you do it. You go to a website that's filled with ads, and you pay to put an ad on the screen that says, block this ad. Here's my website, where the browser that's advertised on the website is an open source browser that comes with the ad blocker built in that works on that website when everybody else is don't. Firefox had such an opportunity here to kick Chrome in the balls, and instead they managed to grab defeat from the jaws of victory and somehow managed to fuck up their reputation worse than Chrome has in the eyes of many people, when Chrome is the one that removed AdBlock and Firefox is the one that didn't. It's so incredibly painful. Seeing what open source projects do to themselves in so many instances, and I've documented some of them on this channel, it's just gun, foot, constantly, and sometimes other organs as well. So after all of this, Mozilla updated their terms of use. Again, we've seen a little confusion about the language regarding licenses. I am not confused. So we want to clear that up. We need a license to allow us to make some of the basic functionality of Firefox possible. Without it, we couldn't use information typed into Firefox. For example, it does not give us ownership of your data or the right to use it for anything other than what is described in the privacy notice. You give Mozilla the rights necessary to operate Firefox. This includes processing your data as we describe in the Firefox privacy notice. It also includes a non-exclusive, royalty-free worldwide license for the purpose of doing as you request with the content you input into Firefox. This does not give Mozilla any ownership in that content. Why couldn't you write that in the beginning? Let's talk about the California Consumer Privacy Act because it's necessary to get into that to understand what would cause a company like Mozilla to get rid of we will never sell your data on their website. For you and I, when we think of selling personal data within the confines of a web browser, you would think it's something like Louis Rossmann went to Pornhub.com with a VPN because he lives in Texas and tried to search for some deepfake AI-generated Tori Amos lookalike porn or whatever sick shit that you may be into, and that they have the ability to sell that information so that somebody else pays 50 cents and realizes that I was looking for Tori Amos deepfake porn. That's concerning. However, when you read the California Consumer Privacy Act, you'll realize that what you think selling data means and what others think selling data means are very different things. When you originally read Mozilla's article, it really does sound like some horribly gaslighting thing over here where they're talking about selling data. It says Mozilla doesn't sell data about you in the way most people think about selling data. That sounds like a cop-out. It sounds like they're hiding something and they're gaslighting you. And very often you'd be right to think that because that's what companies do nowadays. Let's read what it is the California Consumer Privacy Act defines as selling data. Sell, selling, sale, sold means selling, renting, releasing, disclosing, disseminating, making available, transferring, or otherwise communicating orally, in writing, or by electronic or other means, a consumer's personal information by the business to another business or a third party for monetary or other valuable consideration. So when you think about what it says over there, making available or transferring information from you to another business, not even in exchange for money, but for valuable consideration. Some of their existing business practices could have potentially legally qualified as selling data. For instance, their search engine partnership with Google and so on and so forth. Mozilla's largest revenue source comes from deals with search engines like Google, which pay Mozilla to be Firefox's default search provider. These deals involve sending search query data to search partners. Under the CCPA, if Mozilla transmitted search data in exchange for financial compensation, this could be classified as sale of data. This is a practice that Mozilla has already been openly taking part in. So for a very, very long period of time, Mozilla has been getting paid by Google to be the default search engine in Firefox. And when they're transmitting your search query to Google and it has that little refer that says Firefox, even if this data is anonymized, the way that the California Consumer Protection Act is phrased and the way that this is written, they could technically have done something wrong here. Even if they did not sell that piece of data to them, if they're getting paid in another way, or they're receiving other valuable consideration, they don't even have to be getting paid for the data. It could just be considered maybe this improves our business relationship. So usually in a lot of these laws, there'll be a definition section, and over here, valuable consideration. Like, what is that? Is valuable consideration money has changed hands? Is valuable consideration you've let me fuck your wife? Like, really, what does that mean? How Mozilla-sponsored ads work. Mozilla monetizes Firefox through advertising programs. Pocket sponsored stories. Mozilla owns Pocket, which provides content recommendations. One day I turned on Firefox after installing it new, and I started to see these news stories show up on my screen, and I'm just thinking, I didn't ask for this. Where the fuck did this come from? Go away. And that's one of the ways that they make money. Mozilla shares aggregated data with ad platforms such as AdZerk so advertisers can track engagement. Sponsored shortcuts. Mozilla displays paid website shortcuts on the new tab page. Mozilla gets paid per click, user click, and routes click data through a Mozilla-owned proxy service. Sponsored suggestions in search. Mozilla processes search queries and shares de-identified interaction data with partners, including search engines and networks. Mozilla says all data shared with advertisers is anonymized, aggregated, and de-identified before being disclosed. And when you take a look at their privacy policy, Mozilla collects technical and interaction data, such as the position, size, views, and clicks on new tab content or ads, to understand how people are interacting with our content and to personalize future content, including sponsored content. This data may be shared with our advertising partners on a de-identified or aggregated basis. Now, if we take a look on archive.org, you'll see that something similar to this was posted a long time ago. This is not new. This is from July 16, 2024, and the same page. We may recommend content to you based on your browsing history, language, and country location. The process of deciding which stories you should see based on your browsing history happens locally in your copy of Firefox, and Mozilla does not receive a copy of your browsing history. Mozilla does receive aggregated data about the recommendations you see and click. We also share aggregated data about the sponsored content you see and click with our third-party ad platform, Kevel, so advertisers can see how many people click on their articles. This aggregated data does not identify you personally. When you read through this page, even if you archive.org it, this is not something new. How this relates to Mozilla's privacy policy. Mozilla's privacy policy states that user data is only shared in an aggregated or de-identified form. The Firefox privacy notice also confirms. Mozilla processes interaction data such as ad clicks and shares de-identified information with partners. Partners cannot associate these interactions with an individual user. In some instances, when ads are enabled on a new tab, additional browsing data may also be processed locally on your device to measure the effectiveness of these ads. Such data will only be shared with Mozilla and /or advertising partners via our privacy-preserving technologies on an aggregated and /or de-identified basis. There we go. Archive.org, once I got it to work. This is from July of 2024. We may recommend content to you based on your browsing history, language, and country location. The process of deciding which stories you should see based on your browsing history happens locally in your copy of Firefox, and Mozilla doesn't receive a copy of your browsing history. Mozilla does receive aggregated data about the recommendations you see and click. We also share aggregated data about the sponsored content you see and click with our third-party ad platform, Kevel, so advertisers can see how many people click on their articles. This aggregated data does not identify you personally. I'm not a big fan of any of this, which is why I would prefer to use something like LibreWolf than Firefox, because when I get home from a busy day at work, my idea of fun is just not combing through my browser preferences to figure out where any of these items are hidden and ensure that I'm opted out of them rather than opt in. That's not what I find fun. The point I'm trying to get across here is that it's not like they just started putting sponsored search results or recommended personalized news or anything like that in Firefox yesterday. This has been going on for a very, very long period of time, and the stuff that's been in their terms for this very long period of time could potentially get them fucked in the ass by the CCPA based on how somebody may choose to interpret this. So Mozilla's ad system does not clearly violate the CCPA, but it exists in a gray area because of the valuable consideration clause. Mozilla earns money from clicks on sponsored shortcuts, which may be considered a sale under the CCPA if user data has value. Lack of a clear do not sell option. The CCPA requires an explicit do not sell my data button, but Mozilla bundles opt-out settings under technical and interaction data. When Mozilla's support page says you can opt out of having your data processed for personalization or advertising purposes by turning off technical and interaction data on desktop and mobile at any given time. Mozilla did not have a do not sell my data option inside the browser because they did not consider this a sale of data. What they would consider a sale of data is, I know this person's name is Louis Rossman, and if anybody wants to figure out what type of porn he watches, give us $1. Potential re-identification of data. CCPA states that anonymized data can still be personal information if it can be linked to a user. While Mozilla tells users that advertisers cannot directly identify users, regulators may argue that user interactions still hold monetary value, which could require Mozilla to revise its privacy policy for full compliance. So even if they can't figure out who I am because it's been anonymized, that doesn't matter because we're dealing with this term, other valuable consideration. Mozilla's sudden change to its terms of use policy can be viewed as hedges to Mozilla's legal risks and exposure under the CCPA. Legal definitions of selling my data abroad, as noted above, the CCPA's definition encompasses many data sharing practices that may not align with common understanding of selling data. Even if Mozilla was not directly selling user data, its search partnerships, telemetry data sharing, and sponsored content could have been interpreted as data sales if Mozilla received any financial benefit from them, all of which were actions that Mozilla had already been transparent and upfront about. Mozilla's search engine deals could also be considered data sales. As mentioned earlier, these partnerships could legally qualify as data sales under the CCPA definition, despite being an existing part of Mozilla's business model that consumers are already aware of. Sponsored content in Firefox's new tab page involves data exchange. Mozilla displays sponsored content and ads on the Firefox new tab page, which may involve user interaction data being shared with advertisers. Even if the data is anonymized, the CCPA considers certain types of aggregated data as personal information if it can be linked back to users. While the new terms of use does not confirm that Mozilla intends to sell user data and puts its current practices in line with the CCPA, it no longer explicitly prohibits it, leaving open the option for future monetization, which, again, is one of the reasons that if any of this perturbs you, use LibreWolf. Users were not notified before the terms of use changes took effect. Mozilla announced the terms on February 26th, but they had already taken effect by February 25th. Very, very bad. Lack of clarity on why Mozilla needs a license to user input. Users question why Mozilla needed licensing rights over user input when browsers have worked for over 25 years without these terms. Concerns likely based on misinterpretation. Mozilla will log and track all user browsing data. Some users assume the terms of use granted Mozilla unlimited access to browsing history. However, Mozilla's privacy policy still states that it does not store user browser history or personal data beyond necessary telemetry. I think that a good portion of the outrage is a nothing burger. I would say the 50% outrage that is correct is how fucking stupid they are at communicating all of this. It is unacceptable that an organization that brings in tens of millions of dollars, that has a chief executive that makes over $6 million, that has people in the nonprofit making salaries of over $600,000 a year, does not have a PR team that has half a brain cell to rub together and say how to write this. That's unacceptable. But the idea that Mozilla is going out there and selling your data, I mean, their own privacy policy, as it is written, is not going to allow them to do that. And even if you look at their privacy policy and you don't believe any of it because they're such idiots in how they communicated this, which I don't blame you for, you can go over and use LibreWolf and you'll be fine. In my opinion, money for nothing destroyed Mozilla. Money is why this happened. And it's not in the way that you may think. It's not this thing where Mozilla is greedy, so they want to take all your data and sell it to make more money. That's not what it's about. It's something much simpler than that. It's the way money atrophies you. And in some cases, whether it's individuals or companies, having a lot of money could be one of the worst things that ever happens to you. If you're an astronaut and you used to be a power lifter, going to space could be one of the worst things that happens to you. Even if you have your resistance bands and everything else, your bone density is going to go down. You're going to lose a lot of muscle when you come back to Earth because you didn't have the force of gravity and you weren't working against gravity all the time. And the same thing happens when people or organizations get paid a lot of money regardless of whether they do work. People are going to hang around with you even if you say messed up shit. You could tell jokes that are not funny, and people are going to laugh at them. If you have products or services that suck or you don't take what you're doing fully seriously, you have the ability to screw up and not self-improve at all if you have a lot of money, because you're going to make money anyway. You don't have that driving force behind you of, if I don't do the right thing, if I don't shape up, I'm going to be poor. And the same thing happens to a company that happens to a human being, is that your muscles for these things become atrophied. Your public relations muscles become atrophied. Your ability to write a blog post or just have your hand on the pulse of what's going on with your users gets atrophied. So take a look at how Mozilla makes their money. Their money is made through royalties. Yeah, let's say they just deleted subscription and advertising revenue. Just let's say they deleted this altogether. Nobody gives a shit. People like you or I donating $1 or $5 to Mozilla because we like their mission is not how they make their money. They're getting their money by allowing Google to be the default search engine in their browser in exchange for a bag of cash. Google's not doing this because they think that they're going to make so much more money if Firefox refers users to them. Google, sadly, I hate admitting this, every other search engine I use, they just suck. They suck. And frankly, too few users use Firefox for that to probably be worth it to them. Google is doing this to keep Firefox alive. It's insurance. They make $70 billion a year in net profit. Google wants to protect that by not being seen as a monopoly in either the EU or the United States. So taking 0.2 or 0.3% of Google's net profit and using that to keep Mozilla alive is a great thing to do, because they could say, look, see? That browser over there, look, they use a totally different engine, and they're a different company altogether, and their entire business model is not selling data in privacy, and they don't even like us, and they're still around. So see, we're not a monopoly. That's important to Google. They don't want their $70 billion net profit business getting fucked with. So they're going to keep giving to Firefox, regardless of what Firefox does. Mozilla doesn't have to worry about this at all. Now, let's say that the gravy train ended. Let's say that Google decided tomorrow, you know what? Fuck it. The United States has not had consumer protection for the last 10 years now? Why do we even care about this? The gravy train would still continue, because Mozilla has made so much money at this point that they could simply keep going just based on the investment income on their current assets. When you take a look at their Form 990, it says over here for 2022, investment income was $20 million. For 2023, investment income was $37 million. $37 million off of investments. And when you take a look at their total revenue for 2023 was $64 million. So of the $64 million they made in revenue, $37 million was simply by being a glorified mutual fund. They've made enough money that simply just the dividends and interest on their existing money will provide them with quite a bit. And the people that have been working there are used to this by now. If we scroll down on this a little bit, you'll get to see what the executive compensation at Mozilla is. They do not have a culture at that company, in my opinion, of having to perform well in order to get paid. Mitchell Baker is the chair. She used to make $2.4 million a year. Now she's making $6.2 million a year. The executive director of this nonprofit makes $661,000 a year. Do you know what Repair Preservation Group pays me? Nothing! Nothing! Because it's a fucking nonprofit. And even if it was going to pay me something for my performance, for me to do, really be motivated to do a good job, lobby more and get bills passed, fine, I'll pay myself like $80 to $120K, not fucking $661,000. If you're running a for-profit business, by all means, make as much money as you want. A nonprofit director getting $661. What did Mitchell Baker do to get $6.2 million fucking dollars? Like, what code have you written that's revolutionized Firefox? What have you done to get the market share to go back to where it was even in 2013? Their pay continues to go up regardless of horrible, horrible performance. And not just that, forget about the performance aspect of it. Their pay as a percentage of revenue is more than Google or Apple's. When you take a look at how Google pays their executives, Sundar Pichai made $8 million in 2023 on revenue of $307 billion. That's 0.0029% of their revenue. Mitchell Baker's salary was almost 1% of revenue. Mark Sermon's salary at a nonprofit was over 1% of revenue. Man, if you work at Google or Apple, the chief executive there, they may be paid better, but as a percentage of revenue, it's much lower. Mozilla does not have a culture of you need to win to get paid. They're going to get paid if they win. They're going to get paid if they lose. They're going to get paid if they give the middle finger to every one of their users. So why should they care? I don't think that Mozilla is doing this because they want to make money off of your data. This has nothing to do with monetizing your data. It has everything to do with being completely atrophied and out of touch as a company because they can make money regardless of being good at what they do. They could twiddle their balls all day, and they're going to make $37 million on investments alone, which is more than enough to pay the chair and the executive director and all these other people their insanely bloated salaries. Is that a company that's going to want to compete? Is that a company that's going to be hungry to win? Of course not. There's not going to be that winning energy that exists elsewhere. I'm not the biggest fan of some of the stuff Brave Browser's done over the years, but you know what they have that Mozilla doesn't? A winning attitude. They want to win. When YouTube fucked up ad blockers universally, they figured out how to make their ad blocker work, and they went on YouTube and said, block all ads, use our browser. They did not say, hey, it looks like we have an ad blocker that works when all the other ones don't work. Let's destroy our reputation by changing our terms of use in the worst possible tone-deaf way. You know why that Brave and Brendan Eich have that mentality when Mozilla doesn't? Because Brave is not getting $400 to $500 million a year to do nothing. That atrophies you. You're not going to be the same company when you make money for doing nothing. The worst thing that could happen to you as a human being is getting money to do nothing. I've seen it happen to companies and people. It atrophies you mentally, emotionally, physically, all the way around. Some people can deal with it. I probably wouldn't be able to deal with it. I don't think I'm mature enough. I don't think I have it in me. I don't think I have the fortitude for it. I think if I got paid a fuck ton of money for doing nothing, I would become a complete prick. It's not even because I'd want to be a prick. It's just there would be no pressure. It's kind of like taking off your mask in space. It's just like your head would explode. It's like you need pressure. You need something to ground you. You need gravity. You need atmosphere. Yeah. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Consumer Action Task Force Wiki. Every day that a company does some fucked up shit, the wiki gets 1 page taller. 1 page taller. With the help of all of you. I appreciate all of it. I really do. Even the person that did this thing. Even
So there was some pretty big AI news in the last couple of days. First is a very interesting AI video model that we're going to talk about in a second. You've got to see this. Number two is DeepSeek is coming out with the sequel to its extremely popular, extremely good R1 model. So the next generation R2 model, they wanted to release it initially in May, but now they're scrambling to try to release it as soon as possible. But first and foremost, let's get started with the AI video model. So Alibaba launches Wan 2.1. It's their latest suite of AI-powered video models, and it's open source for academic and commercial use. It's hosted right now on Hugging Face, so you can download it and run it locally on your computer. It has both text to video and image to video. So their smallest model, the T2V-1.3B, is especially interesting here because it can run on consumer-grade GPUs with just 8.19 gigs of VRAM. So that means if you got something like an NVIDIA 4090 that's going a burr on your computer, you can, for example, do a 5-second clip, let's say 480p, in just under 4 minutes. So we're not talking about face meltingly fast quite yet, but we're getting there to the point where you can start generating something like this open source on your computer and be able to use the outputs for whatever commercial purposes or art or whatever you want to. We could also in the future get something like a video to audio generation and AI powered video editing. So we'll take out some of these videos in detail in just a second, but first, let's get the DeepSeek news out of the way. So DeepSeek is, of course, the open source, very capable reasoning model. They have a reasoning model as well as a non-reasoning model, as well as their R10 model, which is very interesting for a whole host of reasons. But when these first got released a few months ago, it nearly broke the global stock market. A lot of people were wondering if NVIDIA is perhaps in trouble. So according to Reuters, who I think got this leaked story or from some insider sources, DeepSeek was planning to release R2 in early May, but now wants it out as early as possible. The model will produce better coding and will be able to reason in languages beyond English. So, of course, the R1 was built with less powerful NVIDIA chips, but is still competitive with some of the sort of their Western counterparts that were built for, much more money in training compute. Now, as we've talked about on this channel, sort of the cost to train those models, sort of the numbers that we saw, that's just the cost to produce those models. There's a lot of like costs that went into getting them to that point. So it doesn't mean that any old company can just spin up a model like that for that cost from scratch. However, it was kind of a shot across the bow of a lot of these American companies that are spending vast fortunes, billions of dollars on various compute infrastructures, on data centers, etc. So there's this Indian tech company, Zensar, that's doing about $500 million in revenue yearly. And the CEO of that company is saying that the launch of DeepSeek's R2 model could be a pivotal moment in AI history. That's in part because DeepSeek's success in creating cost-effective AI models that are open source would likely spur companies worldwide to accelerate their own efforts, breaking the stranglehold of a few dominant players in the field. So this is exactly kind of like going a scorched earth on a lot of the sort of the big American companies with, massive capital expenditures producing the frontier models. What happens if a smaller company with less resources is able to just throw out, very competitive, maybe it's not quite as good, but it's close, it's very close, but at a fraction of the cost. And also, available open source so that if you wanted to distill knowledge from it, if you wanted to use it to create your own versions of it and run those smaller models for your own use cases, you could do that. And with open source, also the other big difference is, of course, that it's something that you can download, right? And you can make infinite copies. Whereas with a lot of the other sort of proprietary models, it's always, you got to be connected to, the OpenAI server or whomever. The thing doesn't just live on your computer. With these open source models, especially if you're able to kind of quantize it to a smaller one, it can be on your computer, copied to wherever else, used anywhere in the world without restrictions. My point being is it's extremely, extremely disruptive, right? If you've got something that's like, let's say 90% of the frontier models, an open source model that is 90% of it is extremely disruptive. Of course, US has been talking about the potential dangers of these Chinese AI models kind of like spreading through the world and into US. We do have some senators here in the US that are proposing up to 20 years in jail for people who download a DeepSeek. Now, it's not just DeepSeek, it's basically a lot of projects that are out of China that could be linked to the CCP, that could be part of this sort of, I think the word they use is like socio-military apparatus of the CCP. I'll link the Reuters article below because they have a great little background on the founder of the company. And of course, there's still an ongoing conversation about where are they getting all the chips? Are all of them sort of illegal chips? Do any of them break the export controls that US had to China? The Scale AI CEO Alexander Wang claimed that DeepSeek has sort of a lot more chips than they're supposed to under the export laws. Like, so they have these banned chips. Now, my understanding is that there was some sort of like kind of broken telephone misunderstandings between where he heard it from. The point is they do have a lot of chips. And it's one of the few companies in China with access to those kind of clusters, but it's still a lot less compared to the US counterparts. And that meant that they had to kind of invent new techniques for efficiency and how they approach everything. And it seemed to have been very effective. Some of the powerful ideas are kind of from the US counterparts, from the research on the kind of from the Western companies, but at the same time, they've also contributed and created and innovated in a lot of ways that I'm sure the US companies will start utilizing as well. It does sound like the Chinese state is embracing this company. So the founder of the company is meeting with the Chinese official. This company is seen as sort of a sign that China can, potentially out-innovate the US and take the lead in AI development. The company is also exploring in-house chip development, so maybe some sort of a semiconductor-designed talent that they're trying to recruit is going to go towards that. In their paper that we covered in this channel, they do seem to take some shots at OpenAI. There's some wordplay, kind of like, this is what OpenAI should be, right? So OpenAI is, of course, there's a space between, so they're not actually saying the company, but it seems like they're trying to point stuff out that, hey, the company called OpenAI is not open, while, this Chinese company, DeepSeek, is open sourcing everything. They're also posting this thing where they're saying that their sort of cost profit margin is 545%. Now, Adam GPT, who works at OpenAI, did post that it's sort of a misunderstanding. Some people are misunderstanding it on Twitter. So it's a 84% profit margin. The point being is that the 545 margin sounds impressive on paper, but it's based on an idealized, fully built scenario. Once you account for lower pricing tiers, free services, discounts, so the profit margin is much closer to 84% or thereabouts. But whatever that number is, it's still pretty staggering because, so this is from Business Insider, there's a massive, massive difference in pricing between DeepSeek and the OpenAI kind of analogous version of those models. But basically the pricing and the sort of the profit margins, if everything is to be believed, this is all accurate. I mean, certainly this is all incredible for open source. It's going to give everybody access to intelligence too cheap to meter, right? A lot sooner than we all thought it would be here. So it's certainly very, very exciting. And as the founder of DeepSeek says, the funding has never been an issue. It's the embargo on the high-end chips. DeepSeek, of course, has been insanely popular. So the DeepSeek app just took 7 days to reach 100 million users. That is how that compares to, ChatGPT and TikTok. Now, of course, there's a big Chinese population, so that kind of plays into things, but definitely kind of the scale, the global scale of this thing is kind of impressive or concerning, depending on how you look at these things. And among some of the other big news out of China is their new open source, again, it's open source, from Alibaba, AI video generation tool. Notice that train in the background going past. It's pretty incredible. Here's a ferret, I'm going to say. I think that's a ferret. Correct me if I'm wrong. And get ready for it, the match of the century. Two cats fighting in the arena. If you've ever wondered how giraffes can pick things up off the ground, here's an example. They just hang off tree branches so they can reach down there. Phenomenal. Here's a dream I once had. I gotta say that looks very realistic, very good. An up-close shot of a crow or a raven. Not sure if that's a real bird that has a real counterpart, but it looks pretty cool. Up close shot of the eyes changing colors. Underwater action sequence. Here's a stunt tiger learning to do BMX bike tricks. Phenomenal. I mean, some glitchiness here and there, but overall pretty good. Here's a woman emerging out of the water. A dog chef. Phenomenal. Robin Hood, I assume. Liquid motion. And here's some examples of the image to video. So you start with a static image and that turns into video. That's pretty good. Here's another very impressive demonstration of that feature. Definitely gets the cars and everything right. This was made with the image to video, and I guess this is Kabuki AI. I'll post a link down to that X profile, but this is looking really good. This is like high quality anime. Great motion, great animations, phenomenal. Now, obviously here they're probably doing a lot of like post-production, cutting things together. I mean, they're probably putting a lot of time and effort into this, human intellect added, so to speak. But still, I mean, this is looking incredible. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching.
Thank you for joining me today. My name is Jarrell. I'm creating this video in response to a number of requests from the viewers. So you guys have asked me to cover this topic. If we have not yet met before, I develop games full-time for a living. In the past, I've worked in education and training as an industry consultant and in event organizing, to name a few of my career paths in the past. So I hope you'll excuse me for making this video just a little bit late here. I've been very busy. I'm developing my next commercial titles, which I'm trying to finish very quickly here. I'm working on a number of homebrew titles. I've been exploring and experimenting with different consoles such as the Lynx, the Nintendo Entertainment System, the Game Gear. I'm setting up new video formats for this channel, creating new spaces to film. So that's taking a little bit of time, and recently I've been teaching an archery beginner's course, so my plate is quite full right now, so it takes me a bit extra time to work on these videos, so I hope you'll excuse that this is a day or two behind here. So, in general, player reception to Monster Hunter Wilds has been quite positive in response to the core game itself. The response to the game itself is positive, however, the performance of the game has a universally negative reception. I personally have not played the game, and I do not have anything in terms of personal bias for or against the game, so I will not be attacking the game, nor will I be defending it. I will just be explaining some of the aspects in terms of game development that have caused the game to end up with these sort of issues. So Monster Hunter Wilds is the highest selling game on Steam this year. This video will be approached from an educational standpoint. If you are getting into game development or you are playing the game and wondering why it does not run well, and you're just interested, then this video is for you, and I hope you enjoyed the video. I will answer the question, can you fix the game by adjusting and tweaking settings? We're seeing many videos saying, oh, there's a typo in the config files. If you fix the typo, it fixes the game. I will address that and explain whether or not you actually can fix the game by adjusting settings. I will offer potential solutions to some of these issues that are in the game, not only what players can do, but things the developers can do to actually address these issues. So let's start with a very important explanation, and that is every game has a performance budget and a memory budget, and also a processing budget, but we'll try to keep things simple here. A game's budget for those various aspects is based quite heavily on the hardware on which the game is running and also the game engine. Every single thing in a game has a performance cost. Character models, special effects, fog, water, realistic volumetric lighting, physics simulation, all of those things have a cost. When your performance cost gets too high, the frame rate drops. So instead of getting smooth 60 frames per second, you either get a consistent drop to something like, in the 50s or 40s or, heaven forbid, lower. Other issues can cause hiccups, which result in momentary stuttering. This is something that we see in Monster Hunter Wilds, where turning the camera quickly causes the frame rate to drop significantly for a moment, and it's very noticeable. We also see glitches where full resolution textures seemingly do not load into the game, and some players have reported crashing on PC. I'm going to explain what Monster Hunter Wilds does that pushes their performance budget too far. Again, everything has a performance cost, and when you push that cost too high, that's when you get performance issues. So I'm going to explain what Monster Hunter does to push that budget too far. But first, I want to address an important topic, and that is, I know that you guys are expecting a certain kind of content from this channel. I do listen to you, I read the comments, I try to reply to as many as you can, so I do understand that I think the majority of people are not here for video game stuff, but for the pizza cupcakes. So what I will do is I will now open the box of pizza cupcakes, and I'll show you what they're all about. I'll show you what they're like inside, and then I'll pop some into the air fryer, and then I'll serve them out so that at the end of class, we can all take a quick break and enjoy some pizza cupcakes before heading out to the next class. Okay, we have a tab mechanism in the back here. These are the pizza cupcakes. This is the pepperoni variety. You can see each cupcake does appear to have one pepperoni on the surface. There is melted cheese. You may be wondering what the consistency is like in each pepperoni cupcake. I'll go ahead and pop these into the air fryer now. If you'll excuse me, I'll be right back. Okay, and we are back. Here we have a pizza cupcake. Now in an air fryer, this really only takes about 3 to 5 minutes. You don't want to overdo the pizza cupcake, but let's go ahead and just have a look. Now, what we will do is go ahead and cut the cupcake open, and we can have a look at the consistency. And we see that we have a nice, soft pastry, quite light in the middle. It's a very light pastry in the middle. Let's go ahead and give this a taste test. If you are a fan of the biscuits from KFC that are quite light on the inside and quite flaky and buttery, the consistency of the internals of the cupcake here are similar to that. If you enjoy going to ma and pa diners, as I do, the biscuits that they have there, this is quite similar to that. There is the top layer of cheese, which is quite crispy, but it is light. It's not too heavy. The pepperoni itself is not that strong. I would have recommended a stronger pepperoni, one with a bit more spice and a bit more diameter to that, but it was quite pleasant. Again, at the end of class, I will have the plate of pizza cupcakes in the back of the room. Please take just one pizza cupcake. There are about 13,000 views on this video right now, so that's a lot of people. Please be considerate of other people. Share, and only take one cupcake. You may have seconds if you can see that all 13,000 other people have had a chance to try a pizza cupcake. So, when taking a look at Monster Hunter Wilds, we see an issue where the camera turns quickly and the frame rate drops, causing the game to stutter significantly. Textures and sometimes models look low resolution and low quality. So what is occurring in the game engine to cause this? This game is made using the Re engine, and it is a proprietary engine by Capcom, so I don't have any insider information regarding the Re engine. So the issue that we are seeing is being caused by a modern game development technique called asset streaming, which can be more accurately described. Sorry, that's my phone. Hello? Thanks. Okay, I got it. Bye. So it's not pronounced Re engine, it's just RE engine. So the issue that we see is caused by asset streaming, which is more accurately described as asynchronous loading. This means that game assets such as geometry, like the character models, the environments, the textures, character animations, and audio, are loaded into memory during the game while the game is being played. In the past, we used to load everything during a loading screen. You would have to sit, look at a screen, and wait for things to load. You'll see some games still use loading screens like this, and it is unfortunate that the industry has a very damaging philosophy right now that loading screens are bad and outdated, and that we don't need them. because as a result of trying to design our games around not having loading screens, we end up with issues like we see in Monster Hunter Wilds and many other modern games as well. So, computers have to work hard in order to load assets in, but they are also unloading assets. So it's not just a matter of loading things in, it's trying to clear memory and take things out. In the case of Monster Hunter Wilds, to me it appears as if visual frustum culling method is being used, where it checks if an object is visible on screen, and where things are loaded in and out of memories based on whether or not they are within view of the camera. This is because we can look at a certain scene by moving the camera around, and as we take that in and out of the view of the camera, the frame stuttering is the same over and over again. So how asset streaming works, or asynchronous loading, how it works is first, low quality assets are loaded into the game. You see low poly count models that look kind of messed up and basic, like PlayStation 1 graphics, except worse somehow. We have low resolution textures, and as the camera gets closer to the game object, higher quality assets are loaded in. But this has a processing cost. So this is not a rendering cost, it's a processing cost. It affects the CPU, and that's what causes the frame rate to dip significantly for a moment. So the issue, what I see in this case, is that extremely high resolution textures for environments such as rocks and terrain are quite prevalent here. In the environments for this game, the texture resolution is extremely high. Now, this is problematic because these textures, they occupy a massive amount of memory of the hardware because they require multiple image files. When I say a texture, I'm referring to the material of a piece of geometry. And a geometry is a 3D object in a game. In general, the most common image files that go into a material, again, a material just says how a piece of geometry in a game is drawn, how it's rendered. Usually there's multiple image files that go into it. There's basically always, the first one is albedo, that determines the color. For example, if my tie were to have a texture map, what determines the paths that dictate the bumpiness of objects? They help create a sense of depth. Then we also have specular, which gives the renderer instructions on the shininess and reflectiveness on the object. And those are the basic ones. Basically, every modern game will use those three. But there are optional image files that can be used, especially in games with realistic visual styles that are highly densely detailed, like Monster Hunter Wilds. So the next image file that would go into that would be ambient occlusion. And this is what directs the renderer to how much light is expressed by the geometry. If you want certain parts of your geometry to look a bit darker, for example, under the arms of my jacket, then you would use an ambient occlusion image to sort of say, hey, not much light should be shown over there. You shouldn't express that much light. Next, we have height map, and that gives the game instructions on how to deform the geometry to make models look more detailed with height. For example, you might use a height map on a building with bricks to make the bricks actually stick out, not just look like they stick out, but to actually stick out. Height maps are quite expensive in terms of the rendering cost. Then you have detail maps, so you can have things which tile or repeat or loop. You can use this for scratches, dirt, or material details like thread or wool. You can use it for dust or damage, but detail maps, again, they have a performance cost. And then you have a detail mask, and a detail mask defines how much and where the detail map is visible on a piece of geometry. The mask goes hand in hand with the map. So all in all, that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 image files for every single piece of geometry. That's what I'm seeing here in Monster Hunter Wilds. And all of those, let's say that, you know, they're 4,000 or 4096 by 4096 pixels. That's absurd. But then many image files now go to 8K instead of just 4096. And it looks like that's what they're using here because they are so extremely highly dense with fidelity. And that partly causes the problem because we have this obsession with more pixels, you know, and I'll explain that a bit more later in the video. What I also see here is that the geometry, the 3D models, they're extremely high poly count. Game developers are now no longer just creating characters in 3D modeling programs. They're using programs that create characters, and they tend to create characters at extremely absurdly high poly counts. 3D models are made up of triangles or polygons. We refer to that as the poly count. The more triangles or the more polygons that something has, the more expensive it is to draw. It is a high rendering cost. And modern character creation software generates clothing that is absurdly extremely detailed. It's cinematic quality even. But when it comes to games, that has a huge cost. One technical issue that may not be easy to see just by looking at the game, but it's something that developers should understand, is texture compression. When you have textures in the game, as I described the previous image files, you have to use texture compression to basically squeeze all those files into the game. You have to compress them somehow, or they'll take up an absurd amount of space, and it's not realistic. So we use texture compression. Developers have to choose what type of texture compression to use. There are many, many different methods to use when it comes to texture compression. All of them have different quirks, strengths, and weaknesses depending on the platform. So you have to have a very strong understanding of the platform, because a texture compression that works ideally on the PlayStation may not work well for the Switch, or it may not work well on PC. So you have to have a strong understanding of each individual platform and what different texture compression methods mean for each hardware. You have to manually determine which texture compression styles and technologies to use for each platform. That is an immense amount of work. In a game engine like Unity, it's quite easy to manage that, as we can manage those settings per platform, but it still means that there is a significant amount of manual work that developers have to do. So, with texture compression methods, newer methods are created to reduce file size, but they are slower to decompress. In Unity, this compression method is called crunching. It is exceptional because it allows textures to be significantly smaller. There is basically a negligible difference when it comes to image quality for certain maps. You may not want to use certain compression methods for certain image files. For example, I mentioned normal maps. You don't really want to use crunching when it comes to normal maps, as there will be a significant reduction in quality, but for an albedo map, crunching is appropriate. So newer methods, again, are good at reducing the file size, but they are slower to decompress. And that means that there's the likelihood that we're seeing here is that Monster Hunter Wilds is using a modern texture compression method that is actually slow. It reduces the file size, but it takes a while for the game engine to decompress the image file and then put it into memory so that it can draw the geometry in-game. Next, we see crashes. One aspect of game development that is such a challenge to deal with is something called memory fragmentation. And I believe that may be contributing to the crashes, because people report crashing on loading screens. So memory, RAM, or random access memory, is not something that you download from the internet. And in games, memory management is a little bit like Tetris. When you need to load something into a game, you have to load it into memory. It's like dropping a block of Tetris down onto your Tetris screen. And as you line up the blocks, they'll disappear, but sometimes gaps are left over in Tetris. Memory management in games is very similar. As you add and remove things from memory in a game engine, it leaves holes, and sometimes those holes can't be filled. Much like how in Tetris, you cover over a hole and you're no longer able to fit things into it. Normally, us game developers, we use loading screens, so we try to remove as much stuff from memory as possible. We take out anything that we don't need, and we try to clear out the memory so that we can have it as clean as possible, so that we can try to reduce memory fragmentation. Fragmentation is when we leave holes in there that we just can't clean out anymore. What happens is when you try to load more things into memory, but you have fragmentation, you have gaps that you can't fit memory into. If you reach the top of the screen in Tetris, you lose. It's game over. And it is very similar to how games work, is that if you try to load things into memory and you just haven't been able to clear out memory due to memory fragmentation, your game will crash. This happens much more prominently in certain platforms, and people are reporting that in Monster Hunter Wilds on the PC. Normally, again, with loading screens, you can handle memory fragmentation quite easily. You can clear out memory sufficiently. But in large open environments and open world games like Monster Hunter or Wilds, you cannot do that. You don't have the luxury of all of these loading screens to clear things out. There may be some loading screens used, but I have not personally played the game. I'm going based on the trailers and the gameplay that I've watched. So what are the root causes of these issues? These are just design decisions that are having an undesired effect. It's not a matter of laziness, like, oh, the game, the developers didn't care, the developers are lazy. These are complex issues, and if you don't have a very strong understanding of these, you will not be able to address these. So the root causes, really what this all comes down to, is that the games industry currently has a fixation and obsession with fidelity, because they conflate fidelity for quality. Fidelity is not quality. Fidelity is the amount of detail. You can technically have an infinite amount of detail, really. You can have more and more detail, but that detail can still be low quality. In this case, quality is the measurement of the user experience. Is the user experience positive? Is the experience good? There's an unhealthy obsession with wanting more pixels. We want more pixels, more textures, more resolution, 4 times the content. If you are not extremely careful, if you do not have a very strong understanding of how games work and how development works, if you are not careful, then instead of contributing to quality, the amount of fidelity will actually detract from quality. So what are the potential solutions that we can implement in Monster Hunter Wild from the developer side in order to address and alleviate these issues? I would strongly recommend taking a look at the texture compression method, and I would change the texture compression method for one that favors decompression speed over file size. This means that the file size of the game might be a little bit bigger. Well, it's not that it might, it will be a bit bigger, whether it might be 10% or 20% bigger. I would strongly recommend just having a bigger sized game so that you can favor decompression speed. I would say pick the fastest decompression speed that you possibly can. This will hugely cut down on the hiccuping that we see when the camera moves around. Next, I would strongly recommend identifying problematic areas of the game through manual testing, and I would designate certain environments and certain assets to stay loaded in memory unless they are manually managed to be removed from memory. So large pieces of the environment for architecture, parts of towns, as we look at the town, it stutters. As we look away from the town, it stutters. Things like that, I would manually pick those out, and I would leave them loaded into memory until the player is a certain distance away. I would check, for a distance every so often. I have an intermittent check for distance, and then I would manually manage the assets from there, because the method that they are using relies entirely on the game engine using an automated process to check if the geometry is on screen, and then it manages the asset streaming from there, and the end effect is not good. That's what's causing problems. These solutions require strong leadership, and they require less reliance on automated functions of the game engine. So this means that we have to rely more on competent and experienced developers and strong leadership who have a comprehensive understanding of how games work and how the game engine works, instead of relying on the game engine to do all of the work for you without the developers having to put more planning and understanding into it. So, can you fix the game by adjusting settings or with fan mods? And the answer to that is no. The problem is significantly deeper than what fan mods, than what settings can do. People are reporting using adjusting settings and it fixes the problem. It does not fix the problem. What adjusting your settings does is it frees up your budget. Earlier in the video, I mentioned your rendering budget, your processing budget, and your memory budget. By adjusting your game settings, you free up the budget so that things in general cost less. Things have less rendering cost. Still, that helps the game run a little smoother, but it does not actually fix the game, and it certainly will have varying levels of benefits based on the user and the hardware of their computer. So, that is basically everything that I have to offer in terms of insight and advice for the game Monster Hunter Wilds. And I hope you enjoyed today's video. I hope you've enjoyed the information here. And again, the pizza cupcakes are in the back of the room, but please be considerate of the... Oh, there's 15,000 people now. Okay, so there might not be cupcakes for everyone. Okay, I'm just gonna head to the store and pick up some more pizza cupcakes. Thanks for watching.
Okay. What a weird game. Gotta get out of tutorial. What's this? Oh, weapons and attacks. Press tab to open your inventory and equip the weapon. W or Q to brandish your currently equipped weapon. Perform chain attacks pressing W.
Hey, you.
Perform power blows by pressing Q. Press S to put away your weapon. Okay. Metal pipe. Cool. As a power attack. Put away your weapon. Cool. This is so weird. Melee combat jump king. What was this? Hot dog. The eternal hot dog replenishes your health. When fed 3 gills of humoral slop, it grows back 1 mouthful. Take a bite out of the eternal... Oh, this is the healing. Like Estus Flask that refills. Take a bite. Okay. Okay. Okay, melee combat. What is this? I hope Nixile will stop by. Nice! Well, the combat actually feels good. Why does the combat actually feel good? Never expected Jump King to have satisfying combat.
Is there a jump attack? I doubt. No, there is. There is a jump attack. Okay. I think it's easier to jump and stuff when you don't have your weapon out. Woo! Oh shit.
Hey, you. Hey, you.
What? Tough game. Oh.
Hey, you.
Okay. Man, I wonder how tough the boss fights are gonna be. I mean, there's gonna be boss fights in a fucking Jump King game.
Hey, you.
Wait, so that one has a fog gate or something up here. What is that? Okay, what's over here then? Oh. Armory. Oh yeah, I do have a map, yeah. Potlid. Press tab to inventory, press E to wield your current equipped shield. Simply wielding a shield blocks frontal attacks. Hold E while walking backwards to block while retreating. And S to put away, okay.
Welcome back, boss, and congratulations for the event. We're proud of you. I'd be so happy.
Yo, thank you, Lil Fart. Thank you. I appreciate it. Oh, so then you can walk backwards like this. Thank you. And Tirpalina, Lil Fart. Oh, Limba, Primary Manish, Pointy. Thank you. Put away shield. Okay, so weapon, shield, weapon, shield. Cool.
Hey, you. Hey, you.
Okay. Slope. Here we go. Oh, shit. Oh, okay, he gets stunned from that. Oh, shit. This is so weird.
It's a bug.
Slain by Elias. Wait, says who kills them. Tutorial over, maybe? Oh, shit. Oh, wait. Is this the bug down here? Oh, no.
Hey, you.
Not water physics already, right? Oh, you can't attack underwater. No. The shield walk is so good. Do you have any idea if your objective is save another waifu? It probably is, yeah. They always roll with that. My slope! I can make that. Okay.
Hey, you. Hey.
Oh, it's a shortcut. Okay. Nice. But you level pretty slow. This is so weird.
Hey, you.
Yeah, there is a picture, Pretzel. Prison entrance key, okay. Oi, Padek Belving, yeah, thank you. Yeah. It was pain this year, though. Jesus Christ. Maybe next year it'll be better. There probably is secret walls. I'm sure there is. Okay, I'll give away a code. Ooh, Todd said, okay. Sure. Yep. I can make it up here, right? I'm sending some codes here and there, alright? This is same dev as Jump King. This is their next game. It's early access. Okay. What is that? Why are you running loose? Wait right there. Oh, is he stuck? Oh. Wait, can I help you? Oh, wait, you can't combo? Ah. I like it thus far, but I mean, I'm not out of the tutorial yet. But it's working surprisingly well. Okay. Wait, this is a shop? More slope, please. Oh, Boss Gate. Requires prison entrance key. I do have that. Hey, cousin. So you finally decided to show up. Incredible. Oh, you want to know the name of your savior? The name of the very one who saved you from crawling in your own dirt forevermore? The name of me? Very well. I'll tell you my name. Me, the most powerful jumper in history. And my name is Percy Nileborn. Kneel before me. Ha, just messing around, of course. But now, if you would introduce yourself, thank you. Ah, Elias, is it? You shouldn't go around revealing a name like that to just anyone. Some may take offense. So, Elias, was it? Now that you've finally arrived, why don't we go and find the exit? To be fair, you have a certain quality that the other vermin in this dungy lack. Yes, we shall make a great team, you and me. Only that foul warden stands between us and total freedom now. But we will take him down together, easily. Oh, I'm sure you want your belongings back. They must be in this chest I found. It certainly looks like they would fit you. Ridiculous. Just a jest, cousin, just a jest. Well, then let us proceed as agreed. I have the rear guard, you can rely on me, alright. Yeah, dude. Was there an axe? Yeah. Oh, it's heavy. Nice. I'm gonna go in here first. Oh, I have scuffed shield? Or was it actually called scuffed shield? Yeah. Okay, I have the key for this. Maybe it's a bonus.
Hey, you.
Shortcut. Okay. All right, here we go. What the f... Oh, shit! Okay. Okay, then he does an overhead. So I gotta jump. I got a jump attack. Oh, he has a slap. Oh! Okay, gotta block fast there. Dude, this song. Fuck, there's like no time for that. Hot dog. The same creators as Jump King, yes. Block. Fuck the slap. Okay. I gotta like low crush that. Okay. Big cooldown there. Hold. Let me analyze. That one you can jump. Okay, you gotta... Shit, don't die, don't die. Fuck! Okay, you don't have time for that. Ah! Yeah, you can't hang there. It hits you. Here, hopefully your cat enjoys the game, Dib. Ba 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 ba. Oh yeah, Dedro, let's go. If you beat Jump King base game and DLCs, you definitely deserve one. No, you can buy this game on Steam. I just have free codes though. Wah, 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 wah. Okay, I'm going back up. I have a shortcut. Yo, what up, Lul W? Alright, we're back. But I need more hot dogs. Okay, that's full hot dog. Not full health, though. I can refresh it. Eat. Go in. Go in. Go back out. Easy. Yo, full metal cheese, thank you. Okay. No follow-up on that one, alright. But follow-up on that, you gotta jump lower. Fuck! Jump better. Fuck! Oh my god! No! Okay, gotta get used to the controls. Hey, that's the follow-up, okay. Okay, only one attack. All good. Okay, posture is breaking. Okay, that's 1-2. Oh my god, so slow. Ah! Why is this hard? Okay, just got a shield, I guess. Fuck! 1, 2. Can you jump out of that stance? Also, how do I get shield? Oh, there. It takes a while. Okay. Oh, the shield stamina is really slow. Hey, you. But then the pimp slap. Yeah. Warden. I leveled up. I got like a talent point or something. What is that well over there? Okay, I'm going in. Hey, cousin. What's that stench? Don't tell me. You went down the latrine. Didn't you see the note I left you? Anyways, we're out now. We're heading to my uncle in Red Crown Woods. I had word it's urgent, so we should hurry. Let's. Okay. Wait, you can swim? Yeah, you can do like an air swim. Cool. Or like water swim. Like, you know what I mean. Gnoblin. A moment, young sir. Sir, with respect. Sir's lacking a most important detail. You see? As Igor wandered along the shores of Gowler's Gulch, what did Igor spy? A strapping young mudman. Escaped from the dreadful Redfin prison. Dreadful. An adventurer through and through he was. Igor knew he was so. This is same people who made the Jump King version. Jump King, yes. And of course, every adventure worth his salt needs a trusty squire. Sir is deprived of a trusted servant, is he not? Sure. Indeed, therefore sign right here, sir. Igor shall become sir's faithful servant. Sure, fuck it. Well done, sir. Igor's very pleased by development. Now, sir, is Igor's master. Very beneficial, both parties. So then, how may I be of assistance, sir? Ah, okay. Rest. Level up. Preferring straightforward and honest weapons is guts, yeah. Profanity. Oblivion. Barbarism is what? What does it do, though? Is there no info about what it actually does? Yo, Frosty. Dude, the tracks were so rough. Congrats, dude. Hey, you. Yeah, the tracks were actually worse than last year. It was. And it was ass last year. So. But it worked out. It did. Nice work, dude. I guess I'll just go guts. Power. Yeah. Screw it. Confirm. Cool. Yeah, the pie chart does make it more confusing, I feel. Okay, what is this? Smithing? It costs 18M. I have 272. So I could easily upgrade this stuff. Upgrade F. Maybe not. F. F. Watching it take on these endurance challenges these past years have inspired me to do the same. I've decided to go for Vasaloppin next year. Yeah, I wish you the best with that, Billy. Oh, you need all the gear there too, of course. Okay, gotcha. Sweet. Yeah, dude. I was so impressed by CB just signing up, like, not much ski experience. Said, fuck it, whatever. I want to do this. That shit was cool. And then he got, like, the shittiest tracks you could possibly have, pretty much. Hey, this is chill. What's up? Looks like you made it out in one piece. Incredible. Yes, I heard you escaped that prison. Don't say you did it all on your own. You won't fool me. I have my sources. Wait. During your travel, you must have seen some nasty things, I wonder. Have you seen my nuts? Huh? I wonder what it's like to play like a rogue, like with a knife or something. Oh, you can't attack in here. Are these friendly? Shriveled marble sack. I guess it's just big money. I think the frogs are friendly. Blind? Real? I don't see no blind anywhere. Oh, it was in the inventory, you mean? Oh, there it is. Wait, I got this too. You can feel a doubt sinking its roots from within. Is this truly the right path? It's a key item. Contains a fistful amount of marbles. I guess if you die, you lose some marbles then, maybe. So you can keep them like souls. What up, V? Thank you. Yeah, skiing is done. I just gotta do the biking now. And it's in less than 4 months. But we're already planning it. I've done my Duolingo today, yeah. Who's this? Welcome, dear. Thank you. How may we lend a hand? Commune. Boglink Shrine? Shall we carry thee to Boglink Shrine, dear? A link will be created along the path. Sure. Map discovered. Wait. Oh, that was a player. How may I be of assistance, sir? Alright. Now people can join. I like that they have the music from the previous games, but they're like remastered. Wait, this is the one that has like a gotcha version. It is that one, right? It's called Manor something, I think. It's called Manor, Molding Manor? Yeah, that's the one.
Hey, you.
I'm pretty sure it is. This is the OG. No, it's not Molding Manor, is it? No. This is not the right version, I think. Oh, it is. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. So I like that they've remastered the music. That's cool. OG so much better. I mean, it's different. This is like the hub or whatever. Yo, Dervey, thanks for 95 and thank you, dude. Classic. So it's like a chill version of Molding Manor. It's a wizard up here.
Hey, you.
Hello, I'm the keeper of records. If you wish to indulge in a session of knowledge, just freshen up on your memories. I'll be here to lend a hand. How may I be of assistance? View records. Ah, okay, blacksmithing and stuff. Okay. Oh, look what the wind's dragged in. Look, you stumbling into my little shop of acquired goods. I just know something here is gonna call your name. And your coin, of course. Stone ultra rare relics. This beauty, one of a kind, hard to come by. Just 6,000 marbles, a downright steal, almost criminal, really. But hey, my loss, you're gaining if you act fast. This guy's scamming like crazy, no doubt. Oh God, what's up here? Of course they put an item up there. Yo, nameless John. It's hanging alright. I'm still like recovering from the event in Stockholm. I hope you're alright, dude.
Bang.
Code? Yeah, fine. I hope I get to code to the person above me. Okay. That's based. Item. Shriveled marble sack. I'm gonna get this item here. Nugget of wisdom. Moderately small amount of knowledge used to gain 50 insights. So what is insights? Is this XP maybe? Yo, Exalted, I'm feeling alrighty. But now it's right back, right into the biking event. It's in less than 4 months.
Hey, you.
Cool. That's 20. 17, 17, 20. Okay. Do you have to repeat every event when failing one? Yep. Secret walls?
Yep.
Come on, Nexile, you got some secret walls, no?
Yep.
Wait, there's a player here. Yo, who's this? Come back.
I can save on my computer.
I'm out of here. Am I ready for the biking? Not right now. I don't
All of
even
them,
have a
right?
bike. I ain't even have a bike, bro. Hey, you there. Yes, sorry to bother you, little man. Although you're short, I'm in fact shorter. On time. You see, I was supposed to meet up with Sir Percy right about now. Oh, wait. That's a secret. Ignore what I said. Extalia Shikari. Well done on the skiing. You got the classic in the bag. Yeah, the worst one is left though. Ergi, thanks tier 297. Shoot the J. Earls of Risk. Lil Jazzy. Training my ass for the bike stream when? Yeah, I mean, it's already a good way there, you know. Turboline, Conscience, thank you. Takey, 3 bullets, 1 kill, Nanstop, Alex, Oipa, Shagger, Belfing. Pyramid, Gramaga, First Blood, Artaniel, and thank you, Lilfar, by the way. Terpalina, Lilfar, Low Limbo. 5 Murray Manish, Pointy, Puck Snort, Swift Ninjas, Unreal Leon, Riggedy, Corsehide, Abyss, thank you. I'm glad you liked it, David. Yeah, thanks 66, man.
I'm just gonna buy email if it works.
Cactus, Clism, Susa from above, Miam the Spritas, Askir, Swift Pancake, Cineris, Tommy, Mo5, Echomedet, Anger Pancaker, Anger Pancake, sorry, Metal Snake, Skynet, Weiser Blank, Monster Track, Harshness, Gem, Not the MVP, Silver, Shark Bay 2. Thank you guys. I think I caught everyone. And Electra, thanks 4th anniversary, and Daniel, thanks 19. Woo. Rough, you don't have a bike, but you do have a coat I can have. Okay. Okay, fine. Yeah, my next day off, I'm gonna go to the bike store. Like, all the snow here is, like, melting. So, it's probably... Can probably buy a bike now, to be honest. What did you say? How rude of you. I was in the middle of the story and you just left. Rude. Okay, what? You already went to Mr. Uncle? I must have just missed him by a hair's breadth. I really do have to rush now. Yo, Molten, what's up?
Hey, you.
Okay, I could max jump. Wait, yeah, how do I get up here? Oh, like that. Oh, you don't bonk.
Check if it works. I'll check in a moment. Otherwise, we'll try other stuff.
Oh, I should kill the frogs, man.
Maybe it will take a while because it's too heavy,
hey,
the folder.
Large hairy nut. Oh, is that a quest item? It's bristling with life.
No, I didn't delete it. Don't delete it yet, huh? I'm basically sending by email.
Hey, you.
Hope I finish my real Godot on this year. Oh, I will. There's another nut. Among Us has a first-person mode now. We need to play, please. We need to play, please. You just said Among Us and please in the same sentence, Zero. What is wrong with you? What has happened?
Huh? In my email? No, not yet. That's why maybe it's too heavy. Take a while to receive it. Contact.
Another nut. Okay.
Hey, you.
Yeah, I would select everything and put in a zip file.
Player, yo, what's up?
Hey, you.
No! Can you make it so you can see names? If you press shift when in lobby, it shows who they are. Oh, bottom. Ah, okay, cool. Thank you. Ow. Okay, Big Frog is dangerous, I guess. Yeah, he is. Oh, fuck you. Teleporter? Who are you? Our kind art but humble servants of the Great Mother. We are handmaidens of the Lady of the Bog, dear. Commune with us. Our Lady's boundless love shall breathe a path from one locust to another. Verily, we may come in handy in thy travels. For the threads of her grace are strong, enough to lift even one such as thyself throughout these heights. But remember, dear, they shall also sever the very moment whence thou would turn from her embrace. So, Hami will lend a hand. I'm all good for now? Ah, there you are, cousin. We've been waiting for ya. As a matter of fact, I've made the situation clear to my dear uncle here already. You must be Elias. A daring feat, I must say. Very kindly of you. To assist young Percy in besting a foul warden to make your escape. But also so very, very foolish. Your deed has marked you on the High Order's map, so it seems. So it seems indeed. All red fins are hunted as it is. But now you've gone and painted quite a target on your head. Thank you, Screams. Thank you. Phallic, thanks 71. Batalova, thanks 40. McDaddy, thanks 63. Captain Canuckles, 41. Friendly Patch, thanks 33. Azordi Cop, thanks 7. Yes, I can give you one. Quite the target. Well, as I was saying, Unk. I had planned a more subtle approach, but this hothead just had to go in head first.
Hey, you.
Mahaha, I'm just jesting with you, cousin. Lighten up a bit. Great guy, right, Unk? What gusto. Rascals, you two. Oh, my belly. Whew. But dear boy, for helping Percy, we simply must return the favor. Thank you, Shreebs. Thank you. Precisely, that is what I also thought to propose, Unk.
Hey, you.
Percy, you know Ronnie? Of course, Ronnie's pub in Uptown. Classic spot. Take this poor little fellow there, will you, Percy? Ronnie and the council, they will know what to do. They have the means to get you out of this tight spot you're in. Indeed, Uncle, he could use all the help he can get. What's more, I've had word of an emergency council meeting. I need you to attend it for me, Percy. Oh, Unk? Is that necessary? I should use my spare time to perfect my techniques. I need you to go, Percy. I can't right now. I'm excited for Monhun, yeah. Hopefully it runs well, though. You know how my belly's acting up. Besides, it has become dangerous for Redfins to jump around. Elias needs you. Percy, you're the only one. Oh, it's rumbling again. The only one who can help him get to Uptown safely. I suppose you're correct, Unk. Alright then, our new friend will have my help up to Ronnie's. That's my Percy. I must send a letter and let the council know you'll attend the meeting. Don't forget the secret phrase to get access to the council. An old Danish. Ha! My favorite. Cousin, next stop's Ronnie's. Let's... Wait, don't... Oh, they're moving, okay. Whoa, I'm really fast. I thought I heard Sir Percy. I jumped as fast as I could here. Oh, my word, you just missed him. He's on his way to Uptown on an important errand. Don't want to interfere. But who would then write Sir Percy's journals? Who would keep him in a good mood?
You.
Or make sure that he never gets hungry? No, you old fart, this won't do. Sir Percy, here I come. I haven't tried the benchmark. I should, though. Well, you should hurry now so you don't lose Percy. Okay. All good. Mr. Uncle's house. Huh? Stop looking at me. The bastard will see me. Go away so I can continue my ambush. Okay, who's that? Okay, what's up? Come on then. Will this guy help? Ambush him. Oh, that's for upgrading gear. You dream we had dinner with Billy. Yeah, congrats on Skeven. Thank you, Devil Hunter. Thank you. One more to go. One more. Yeah, I've encountered some random people, but they kind of just like disconnect immediately. Oh shit. So you're helping? Okay, cool. What the f- What's this game? Is Jump King Quest. There's a new Jump King. It's not fully out. It's early access.
Hey, you.
Can I have a code? Because I'm American and you feel bad for me. What the fuck? Ooh. Nice. Ugh. Can I upgrade my gear? Oh wait, there's an upgrade guy here. Yo. Sir. This guy's like Dolby or something.
Hey, you.
Code for what? The devs gave me 50 codes to give away for this game. I've already given away like 30 or something. Yo, hey, Loki, big 100. Oh, shit, the big one. The big one. God bless you. Oh, thank you, dude. Hope you're well. Moolamalex42, congrats, complete Skeven. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'm feeling alright. I'm still a bit tired from it. Nelio Anthonizo, Refiax, thank you. Trade a sub for a code. Okay. We have to like write in chat so I can see you. Or wait, how do you like whisper someone? Player! It's Finn. I'm gonna upgrade my axe. Hot, whetstone, or dusty? I guess I'll do hot.
Hey, you.
Cool. Yeah, there's a matchmaking option, yeah. I have it on like the stable one. Launch takes 2, max takes 103, and Ash takes 65. Thank you. Thank you, Relay and Endura, and thanks, Nate. Yeah, the classic isn't done yet. I still have the biking left, which is the worst one. Yo, Finn.
Huh?
Sorry, I had to test.
The bear sleeps?
Sorry, I had to test.
I can
Oh
give
yeah,
it
the
back.
fucking halberd. Yeah, I apologize. I had to see if it worked. Yes, Rifiax, yes.
You wanna know?
No, wait.
Yeah.
No. Oh, stop. Oh, okay, he wanted to hit me back. No, I don't have a new bike yet. I need to pick it up soon.
Hey, you.
Oh, wait, where'd you go? Come back, friend.
I think it is. Let me check.
What? game has seamless co-op, yeah. It's like you encounter random people, and you can also kill each other and stuff. What? Oh. Okay, I'm coming up. Oh wait, now Jesus is here too. Yeah, I'm coming, man. I'm on my way. Oh shit, what have you done? I want to go in here. Bastard sword. Okay. Oh wait, there's a special attack. Upper slash down plus Q. Cool. Okay, up, down plus Q. Wait, down plus Q? Oh shit, yo! Oos. Oos.
No. Oh no, don't delete them. Probably transfer by USB. Don't have time.
Do you need help down there?
Yeah.
I can help?
Mm-hmm.
Did I get a full bath service? No, I haven't, Morcon, no. Shoryuken! Nice. I like it. Not state of trade, but not a piece of her code. Oh, fuck yeah. Oh, Nautilus wants code. Yeah, of course, of course. Yeah. Where is Nautilus?
No, wait.
Wait, someone's coming. Oh, it's him again. I think this guy's friendly. Where's Jesus? I can make this. You good? Nice. What's over here? Oh. Magical.
Another big.
They feel magical to the touch. How do I see the stats? Oh my god, this is dank as fuck. Well met, Reddy. I can see a red fin just like myself. The name's Brown Cloak. The one and only. Oh shit, Jesus Christ.
And bang, up the butt.
NK thanks 40. Since I didn't end up with the bandits, I figured I'd snag your attention. I'm a purveyor of fine equipment, as you can see. Want to see me wares? Sure. Gauler, a jailer set.
Up the butt.
Molten point has 100 marbles for the spear. Okay. Torturer spear. What about the warden set? What about the whip? Buddy, I don't know you well enough yet. Prove you can scramble some marbles and I might consider it. Okay. So, vicious barbs and hooks makes a choleric weapon the perfect tool to discourage capture red fins.
Hey, you.
Wah! 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 Shady J. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think they have a release date for this. Yeah, I don't like this spear, no. All about the Balster sword. This has 2 stars on it, though, which means it's a certain rarity, I guess. Move my goods to a better place. That eager fellow seems to know where business is booming. I'll pack up and go there later. But for now, want to see me wares? Yeah. 100 marbles? Sure. Jailer hood. What about apron? 125? Damn. Oh, yo, I can look sick.
Hey, you.
Hell yeah. I kind of like this dang cat, dude. Off the Swimspot in June's experience Midsummer, my first banana pizza. Yes, Saz Balom, let's go. Whee! I look like a gay gladiator. There you go, Zort.
Hey, you.
A gay gladiator. Jesus is still here. No, the other... Is that Jesus? Yo, what up? Thank you, Cozy Up. Thank you. There we go. Yeah, controller. Yeah, I think they might even recommend controller. I just always played Jump King with keyboard, so...